extremely impressed with how Boston came out there on control.
Dallas feel resoundingly winning this team fight.
Strike is being very, very slippery, very hard to catch.
Mickey holding strong. Revenge.
Oh, I get excited about that stuff, man. Hold me.
Dallas dominates.
Boston looking very good here on defense.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The duel has begun.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. How's everybody doing today? We have an awesome crowd here in Los Angeles. Keep making noise. We're not done yet. This is just the start of the show. Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena. This is the Overwatch League. And once again, I am your host, Professor Puckett. Welcome back, class. We had an awesome week so far. And today, we have an amazing desk. We got Bren, we got Crumbs. So he's back in action. Crumbs, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Yesterday was absolutely sick. The fact that we get to see the top teams drop games, it's too early to say it's anyone's game, but it's really starting to look like it.
So many upsets already, and now as we take a look at the global standings, we've had a bit of a shakeup at the top. Still, it's Seoul Dynasty, New York Excel, in the London Spitfire, but this middle of the pack getting very tight, Brent.
Yeah, absolutely. The middle of the pack is looking incredibly close between these teams, and like Crumb said earlier, it's a little bit too early to say, but it genuinely could be anyone's game here in this race to playoffs between these Western teams.
And as we take a look at some of these numbers, you'll notice those three teams 5-1. A lot of questions on Twitter. Real quick, Crumbs. How do we use the tiebreakers currently?
Well, right now the tiebreakers are just being put on the side, but you want to have the teams that have the highest win maps as the highest score, and that way, with that metric, we have the Seoul Dynasty still at the top.
They got a one-game lead over everybody else. That's why Seoul is currently #1. We do not see Seoul today, though. As we look at our squads, it's going to be Dallas Fuel versus the Boston Uprising to open things up. Both teams desperately trying to get a win to climb up on our leaderboard. A little bit later, it's our Los Angeles Valiant versus the Florida Mayhem. And we close it out with the big one. Who's excited for the Gladiators versus the Houston Outlaws? Zoe, what's our match of the day?
Oh, it's got to be the last one. Gladiators going up against the Outlaws. Outlaws had a great week too, but the Gladiators, during their battle against Los Angeles, for Los Angeles, not against Los Angeles, since they aren't playing for Los Angeles, that was an insane match we saw against the Valiant there, so I can't wait to see what the two teams have in store for us today.
Looking forward to that one at 3 p.m., but we're opening it up right now. Are you guys ready to get it going? Please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, the Dallas Fuel. Seagull leading the charge, effect right behind him, and Seagull back in the lineup yesterday to help Dallas get their first win. They're coming into this one at 1-4. Zoe, was this the boost, the win over San Francisco Shock? Was that the boost the team needed?
I really think so. I talked to their coach, Kai, and he said it's all about building up that confidence, because no matter how hard they practice or how well they've done in scrims the past 2 weeks, on stage, they lack the confidence, and I think that was showing in their game as well, because during team fights, they more or less stepped backwards rather than forwards. They played incredible passive, and he said that they're going to just stick to the heroes they're comfortable with. They want to play to their strength rather than playing to everyone else's meta.
But it's not just sticking to the heroes they're confident in, it's the players. It seems like right now, this is the lineup that they've decided to go forward with in trying to climb themselves out of the hole that they started in the 0-4. So the development of these 6 players is going to be interesting to see as they continue in the Overwatch League.
Brett, who are you watching today?
For me personally, it's got to be Mickey. This guy is a bundle of joy, a bundle of hope for this team, right? He plays that off-tank role on a very high level, but also it's the Roadhog in particular that I'm looking at. He played it in the game the other day, and he actually played it to a very high level. Normally it's Timer who fills that role, but in his absence, he stepped up massively.
That's the Dallas Fuel. They're currently at 1-4 in our standings, but now it's time to welcome in our 2-3 squad. Please put your hands together for the Boston Uprising. Kellex the Dane leading the charge. He's been a phenomenal support for this squad, and coming into this matchup, these guys have to be feeling confident. You just took down the London Spitfire. Brent, how'd they get it done?
Yeah, so generally speaking, it was clean play. That was the name of the game for Boston Uprising. These guys exploited London's passiveness. They did their homework and did their prep, and it's honestly a testament to this team's work ethic. One of the hardest working teams in the league. They've ground from the bottom all the way up, and now they are a contender for a very top playoff spot.
And that work ethic spirals out of a different strategy to coaching these players than most teams. They actually have a system in which the coaches tend to decide most of the actions that the players are going to be taken, which requires a lot of trust between player and staff. And that kind of trust, if succeeds as it is working for them, takes off a lot of pressure on these players, and I think that that's how they're able to play so aggressively a lot of the time.
So when you watch the win over the one in Spitfire, which player stood out to you the most?
Well, the guy we just saw on the screens, it's going to be Dreamcast former, or actually generally all their players played incredible well against London, even though they ended up losing some of the fights and some of the maps as well. But Dreamcast enabled them to get the first point on Numbani with some incredible Pharah play. Note really stood out. He had his first showing this week on the stage, and I think he did absolutely fantastic on his diva, protecting his supports so very well, and that opened up so much space for the whole team.
Keep your eyes on those two Boston players. Let's talk about the matchup in the big picture. Every single week we're seeing teams play about 2 matches. So Bren, let's talk about the preparation that comes into this one. How did the prep differ between the squads?
Yeah, so actually Boston are coming into this with a relatively large advantage in the fact that they only had to practice for 5 maps in their 2 games this week, whereas Dallas Fuel, they've had 7 maps to prep for. Now, you might not think it's a large difference, but it does mean you have to split up your practice time, your scrim time to a reasonable degree, and you are going to have to spend less time on maps, whereas Boston can just only focus on strategies for the 5 maps they were going to play.
You do have to do that, but I'm going to hold these teams to a very high standard and expect them that at 3 weeks in, they're going to be able to have the preparation down for all of these maps, because it's only 8 that you're going to be playing on this stage. So I figure, hey, 2 weeks ago you had to prep for the other ones. You don't forget what you did those last weeks.
We know 2 players are going to be very prepared for this matchup. They're going to be keys to victory for both squads. Let's take a look at a head-to-head matchup that will be following all match long. It's going to be Striker from Boston going up against Effect. This is a Tracer duel that we're going to see played out. Who do you give the early edge to?
I gotta say, Striker might have the edge if they're going for a Tracer duel. Striker, arguably one of the best Tracers in the whole world. However, Effect, not only did he play the Tracer to an incredible high level, but also other heroes. He's been showing us a lot more versatility than we actually saw from Striker. So it's gonna be a tough matchup for both of them. I am wondering if they're going for, or rather if Effect is gonna try and go for those 1v1s against Striker, and if he can actually win them.
Brad, nothing?
For me personally, I was staring into Effect's eyes. You know, he's just a lovely looking guy. But I honestly do believe, I completely agree with your fact there about Effect being very flexible, but Striker in particular, this guy has, once again, this entire team, a testament to Boston's sort of work ethic where they've just ground up. Striker is one of the hardest working players in this league. He's ground his way up, and now he's a contender for one of the best Tracers in the league, which is crazy. It's an incredible performance. Whereas before the league even started, people were discrediting this guy and this entire team.
Well, we now know Boston actually has the better match score, right? They're coming in at 2 and 3 in our standings. Dallas at 1 and 4. But I had a lot of questions. People are asking, what are Dallas's chances of making it into the Stage 1 playoffs and maybe the playoffs at the very end of all 4 of our stages? Crumbs, let's look in particular at stage number 1 in the upcoming matches. What are Dallas's chances of winning 6 straight? They got their first win over the Shock yesterday.
Listen, in esports, you learn that anything gets to be possible. So they have a chance, but the fact that you're up against a Fusion that is currently 4-2, to me, Fusion's looking like a super sick team. And then you have the Excel, which in my eyes is the strongest team. I don't think they're going to be able to pull off 6 wins in a row.
Yeah. If they do get the wins this week and next, that would be 4 straight. I think they could close it out with wins over Shanghai and the Gladiators. But that right now is just a pipe dream because you have to get through Boston Uprising first. The action is just moments away. Are you guys ready? It's time to wake up, Los Angeles. Let's go and send it backstage. We got Uber with Mr. X.
Happy Saturday, Blizzard Arena, and everybody at home. Oh, it's good to be here in the Dallas Fuel. It's a very quick turnaround for them. I've got the goggles on today, Matt, because after yesterday, I just can't believe my eyes looking at these season standings.
This week has been insane. A lot of people looked at some of the matches and were like, oh, I know they're going to be kind of lopsided. And then we had a bunch of crazy upsets. NYXL, they take out Seoul Dynasty last night. Just a tremendous week of Overwatch this far.
No doubt about it. And it only gets better from here. You saw Dallas's road ahead, and it's safe to say they've got a lot of changes they need to make going forward. But breaking news as well, Astro's just announced they will be bringing AKM onto the roster at the next signing period. So already big changes happening for the Fuel as we head into Numbani.
Which AKM is a tremendous player. It's a huge addition for this Dallas Fuel roster. I imagine a lot of teams wanted to get their hands on AKM. Going into Stage 2, Stage 3 the rest of the year. So that's a huge win for this Dallas Fuel team.
All right. Dallas now with a lot to make up for in the Boston Uprising, with the blood of the London Spitfire hardly dried on their weapons. They're back into the fray again to extend out their lead. I mean, this division, the Pacific Division, is quite interesting for Dallas in terms of there's a lot of teams that are sort of at 2 wins right now. So Dallas get one here. They're definitely in the mix. Like was said on the desk, there's a big road ahead. But all the focus is here on the map of Numbani right now. Of course, this is where it begins for the Dallas Fuel here to try and make some recovery. It'll be, by the looks of things, the Boston Uprising to start on defense.
Well, you got to remember for the Dallas Fuel, this is such a long season that, you know, you look at the rest of their schedule, you know, you kind of look at them, you're like, okay, maybe they finish 4 and 6, right, in stage 1. They can easily, you know, rattle off a 7 and 3, an 8 and 2, and a stage 2, stage 3, and they're right back in the overall playoff heat at the end of the year. But it'll be Boston Uprising on defense here first. Looks like still, you know, making some changes. Most likely we'll not see Striker play the Lucio here, as he's one of the best tracers in the league, like they were talking about. The one change they actually make, I know, over the last few games or so, is that Kalios will come out on the flex tank role and Note will come in.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix-up here. We've actually seen Note, as you can just see here, a lot of assists to his name in their match up against London. So he's definitely got what it takes. His involvement in kills is definitely not to be denied. The Dallas Fuel now, again, we know this team. A team that doesn't like playing too much of that aggressive dive composition, something different. They're trying for a different approach to many other teams. Custer believes that the Dallas Fuel style is a good counter to the dive-oriented approach of the Boston Uprising, but that remains to be seen.
It's going to be a really strong anti-dive comp from the Dallas Fuel, so have Coco playing the Orisa, obviously the Halt plus Hook combination so deadly. You also have Effect playing McCree, and the Seagull will be playing the Junkrat. Now, something that we noted yesterday, you're going to see Chip play a lot more of the Mercy on this roster now. I know he was mixing it up between Harry and Custa, but you know, Chips, I think, you know, without question, the best Mercy on this Dallas Fuel roster. And you know, Boston has already given up a tick here, Mitch, and they lose Dream Casper.
Error in judgment there, and Custa fires his second kill. Both DPS players are down. Calyx is forced to extend into trying to get the res on Dream Casper, but Neko falls. As soon as Boston bring one player back, they lose yet another. And our Effect has got a little bit of room to work. Casper's going to be threatened here. He drops down, but it's skeet shooting for my boy Effect. Casper dead before he hits the ground.
And you see the positioning they take there with Orisa and Roadhog in this close corridor. You know, you have Seagull who can just spam this as they try and push it in from the left of a Tracer. And it's so difficult to get these players off the point because there's so much close range damage if Gonsu decides to jump down on Winston. So you see this, you know, anti-dive, a little bit more of a pick comp working out well for Dallas early.
Well, Dallas have saddled up and they're on the road. It's time for Boston Uprising to pony up now and meet them here in the second phase.
And now Boston, you have Dream Casper go over to Genji, so they're going to get extremely aggressive here. You would think. See how the dive, though, works against this Dallas comp.
Again, Custer believes this anti-dive is an excellent counter, oddly enough, to this composition. Let's see if it works. Seagull's already blinded for the backblood, but that's going to be striking a full Effect. Wastes no time in getting his hands dirty. Kills with the Tracer, but Note is up close and personal there, getting a little bit aggressive. Mickey goes for a take the breather, and Seagull's brought back into the fight. Mickey now needs to respect. He's getting healed by Chips, though. Note hardly scathed from that fight now with the Discord Orb. It's a very quick B-suit forced into self-destruct. He wants to get his Mac back, and it looks like he will have it momentarily. But Dallas are still on the roll, almost 6 ultimates to go.
Yeah, Boston has to use Primal Rage and self-destruct during that fight. They do have their Valkyrie here, which Calyx is going to use. They're going to use it to engage because they're using Transcendence for Dallas Fuel, keeping them up in the fight. Seagull with a pick there on to Calyx, gets a little bit too low. Close to the Junkrat. He also drops Neko, which is huge because now for Dallas Fuel, you didn't have to use your own Valkyrie in that fight, right? You're able to withstand the push from the Boston Uprising with only using your Transcendence.
Custer's had a huge fight there as well, picking off 3 off screen. Dallas Fuel, and here's what's so incredible. They only use the one support ult. Their ultimate economy has been very, very good. Keeping a cool head, Seagull able to get 2 big picks in that fight. This is momentum. There's a lot of it here for the Dallas Fuel. The Boston Uprising, a decent dive that gets them a first kill, Matt, but it hasn't given them any fight wins yet.
And if Dream Casper goes in to engage with that Dragon Blade, you have Seagull, obviously, you can do a ton of damage, just as Junkrat in general, but you also have a Riptire on the table. And then, you know, Dream Casper gets 1 or 2 kills, you have the Valkyrie.
Dragon Blade time. He's going in though, Matt. We'll get back to you in just a sec, but the Transcendence is being drawn out here, the Boston Uprising as well, just to try and keep that Genji alive. Custer's going to back away.
Yeah, they just decide to give up Dallas Fuel in that fight. They let that Boston Uprising use their Transcendence plus Dragon Blade combo. They back out because now they know that they have a great chest of ultimates to use here. They have their Valkyrie, they have Riptire to potentially open it up, and then a Deadeye to just zone some players out.
First fight win for the Boston Uprising, if you could call it that.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you really call it a win considering they had to use their Transcendence and Blade and Fuel just disengaged from it? It's kind of about even.
Doing that, by the way, with that Lucio and a super mobile composition here means Dallas were very quick on the call to disengage from that fight. So no speed boost available or anything similar. So Riptire could be possible here, and you can see Seagull's very aware that it could be dropped down behind by Dreamcasper, but no, Dreamcasper takes the direct approach! He just lazily lobs a mine in his direction, and Casper, well, goes the way of the weary there. Seagull, getting a little bit of respect, knows there was a Diva self-destruct happening, and Calyx is taken down by Mickey, so this is good for the Dallas field now to make some more progress. No, gets desuited. Seagull now is on a running riot. He's looking for a bit more. Lobs the one in! How does he find that? Just casually. It's like bobbing for apples. Striker.
And he's still got the Riptire here, Seagull, to use off of the spawn. You see him just chuck that mine out, hit Dreamcasper where they gets him weak. He's going to use the Riptire. Gamsu pops Primal Rage to stay up. It'll be Dreamcasper who takes Seagull out while he's calling in the Riptire, so you're going to lose that pressure that Junkrat can provide. It'll be Striker connecting to the Pulse Bomb on a Coco. They use the one res to bring Seagull back, so you're not going to have either of your tanks here for Dallas Fuel. You're going to have to back out.
Ooh, was Neko stuck in a GM?
Yeah.
Seagull's having a huge impact on this game thus far. The fact that he catches Striker there with a concussive mine thrown just over the shoulder. And now they have a chance to really make a push here. 3 minutes left, so this is very good time for the Dallas Fuel, and they've got a bit to work with here. The Supercharger and Deadeye combo is actually not one to be underestimated.
I mean, Boston, they do have both of their support ults, and they have Dragon Blade. So we'll see how they decide to use these.
Oh, they're doing it!
Dallas Fuel, okay, so they use Supercharger, put that barrier down, give him back maybe a little bit extra damage here with the Deadeye. They use both of those ults, they don't get anything for it thus far. It's gonna be 2 kills. Calyx is gonna use his Valkyrie. Let's see who he decides to bring back up.
Custer back in the fight now. Effector's gonna make his way forward. Casper trying to go for the reflect, but Neko never stood a chance. Out in the open, and Effector's more than happy to find him down range. Striker being brought back to life though, and it looks like we're about to get to our last fight. If the Uprising can even challenge this one out. He's going to be dropping down Striker with the Pulse Bomb on effect, and he's immediately brought back. He's too important here to the Dallas Fuel. Mickey on to Gamsu. Mickey doing a heck of a lot of damage on the payload, trying to pressure away. He's found Calyx. That's the pick. The Mercy's out of the picture now. It's going to force the Transcendence.
Oh, and it was a huge kill by Dreamcasper, who takes out Chips while he's using Valkyrie. But I don't know if Boston's going to be able to capitalize on it. Mickey going whole hog. They get Coco there on the point weak. They take him out, so Boston able to hold on. But Dreamcasper goes behind enemy lines, he forces out the Transcendence from Custa, then wraps all the way back, uses his Dragon Blade, and gets Chips out of the sky before he can get that second res off. Big play there from Dreamcasper with that blade.
Both of these rosters moving heaven and earth to access the enemy's back lines. Much harder for the Boston Uprising to dive the Dallas Fuel than vice versa, given how much of the defensive infrastructure they have. Mickey switched over to the Diva now, so like you said, Matt, they're probably feeling a little bit more, the Dallas boys, that they need to put a few more resources into keeping Custer and Chips alive. So the Diva will peel back with the defense matrix, trying to keep a little bit of defensive zone.
The area they're going to play from here.
Oh, Neko.
Dallas Fuel, and Neko gets caught out yet again here by effect. He's going to use his Deadeye. Gamsu using Primal Rage.
Gamsu, oh, he survives that somehow, so perhaps he just manages to get his way through that one, but Effect is going to follow it up. Seagull falls through a Pulse Bomb, though, again. Not always easy to hit the very mobile Junkrat, and Casper drop onto the payload. He's going to make his way through and collect spell there as well. That is massive. No mercy available now for the Boston Uprising, at least for the next few moments. Striker trying to dance and dodge away from Coco, just pressuring him down with that minigun. And it's going to be the back line here for Gamsu. Looking to try and pressure on towards Chip, but he gets away. Now Coco is essentially on his own, but Effect is playing in the periphery, and now the reinforcement to Rid.
And it's going to be 40 seconds left on the clock here. Both teams are going to have all their support ults online. It'll be Striker taking out Coco with a Pulse Bomb. Chips decide to use Valkyrie. He does. You're going to go in, you're going to res Coco, you're going to be back at full strength.
High value Resurrect now on the shield to boot. It's going to be Gamsu trying to go in again, but he's going to get stunned as soon as he hits the ground. Doesn't quite find what he's looking for now. The Riptide. He'll look for a target, and Casper can't block that one. He's going to fall. No, not far behind him now. It's just going to be Neko on the payload. Self-destruct, but Neko dodges it still. All of the Dallas Fuel's resources are poured in to get in the map down, and they do. They get it finished. They had 3 minutes of 1 point, though, so the Boston Uprising definitely found their feet towards the end of the round.
They looked much better once they brought the Genji into play and they got more aggressive on the back line of the Dallas Fuel. Now, Custa doesn't even have to use the Transcendence there in that last fight. And Calyx died again during Valkyrie at the hands of Effect this time, not Seagull. So Effect just picks him up out of the sky. I believe he only got 1 res off, so when you talk about how strong Valkyrie is, when you can bring 2 players back to life, especially you stay alive, you bring those tanks back to life, it gives a lot of time for players to come off a respawn. You need to get those 2 reses off. It's just so important.
One thing that makes life a little bit harder for Kellex in this matchup than Chips is that he needs to back up his dive DPSs,
Yes.
right? This often means that the Mercy has to move away from safe zones, I'm going to put it that way, I suppose, and try and follow up with a Tracer or a Genji. That sort of puts her in harm's way, whereas Chips sort of sits with Seagull or Effect, more playing around the back line of the flanks.
And then you think about it when he has to go in to resurrect, whether it's going to be like Gamsu on Winston, or you're trying to get Dream Casper or Striker on these dive heroes, are going to be very aggressive. You have to go a little bit lower to the ground, then you have Effect there with a flashbang, you have Seagull there with the Minds of Junkrat, so...
You see Gamsu getting stopped. As soon as he hits the ground, Effect is just flashing him up and they're able to blow up the Winston before he'd even have a Primal Rage, even if it was available.
It'll be the Dallas Fuel on defense now. No changes from their composition. Outside of Mickey now, it's going to be playing D.Va instead of Roadhog, so maybe just trying to provide a little bit of extra support with the defense matrix, trying to peel a little bit for the likes of Custa and Chips.
So this is one of the more pertinent discussions right now in terms of the meta surrounding what we're seeing in the Overwatch League, is that, is this anti-dive composition, I'm using air quotes here, is this anti-dive composition from the Dallas Fuel the antithesis or the antidote even to what a full dive comp is? We've obviously talked about it a fair bit, Matt.
Well, I think with the way that Mercy is now and how much Zenyatta play we see, it'll be Boston Uprising on offense. Mentioning Zenyatta, Neko will be running Lucio here. With Mercy able to just heal up Zen and then Zen able to put the Harmony Orb right back on Mercy, it's so difficult for Tracer now to just burst down these supports in the back line that now with the comp that Dallas Fuel's running, it makes it even harder for a Tracer to kind of go off.
Okay, so the Boston Uprising trying to counter. Dallas Fuel's tanking this with a bit of mobility, try and get around behind him. Looks like it's worked out. Striker's already found his way to the back line. Effect's being pressured, but Mickey, that's the peel that we're looking for with the D.Va. That's why she's in the lineup and not the Roadhog at this stage. Good response from the Fuel. They've got a lot of front-loaded damage to deliver to Boston after their feet hit the ground. And Casper now has to give a lot of respect and a lot of distance to his assailants. He reflects though, that's nasty. Seagull gets a bit of a taste of his own medicine, and Coco's struggling to find Casper. Is this man going to be able to do it on his own? He's found another one. Surely not. And no. Mickey now, he sees the HP on the D.Va, he gets the D-suit. How is doing it all himself? But finally, Mickey puts that one to a stop still. That sows a great deal of dissension in the ranks, and Boston Uprising were able to cap some off this.
The Dream Casper was solo on the point for such a long time. They finally get Neko and Gamsu back into the mix. Now Note and Striker as well. They may actually take the point based off of just the heroics of Dream Casper.
They've done it as well. Pulse Bomb onto its effect to really put the punctuation on what was an incredible opening by the Boston Uprising, specifically Dream Casper. In a 1v3, enables his team to capture the point. They kept the pressure on, the momentum was there, but it's a real individual brilliance for Casper knowing what he could reflect. He got 2 reflect kills. Well, okay, he got a reflect kill and a reflect D-suit. Very good use of cooldowns.
And that looked like a fight that was just completely going to be dominated by the Dallas Fuel. Just one player just turned the tides for the Boston Uprising. You see why everybody's been so high on Dream Casper so far throughout the Overwatch League. It was what Prophet calling him the best Western DPS player. As you see Dream Casper go high off the wall with this play. They have no idea where he's coming from.
That's right, drop it like Spider-Man, but he's got the Deadpool arsenal to bring to bear. And now Coco getting cut down by that Dragon Blade. Mickey trying to distract. Maybe it's a war dance, I'm not really sure. Either way, the Boston Uprising are making some serious progress. I mean, while we're talking about it, we've got so many of these teams now in the league with incredible DPS duos being backed up by very, very, very good support and tank play. And this is one of them, Casper and Striker, both teams to break a game apart on their own. Now, you sweat if you're the Dallas Fuel. There's 5 minutes and 34 seconds on the clock, and the Boston Uprising, well, the end is in sight.
Here is the part of the map where you feel like the Dallas Fuel comp can probably work the best as you go through this little underpass here, right? You can halt players back. Now you have that supercharger to go with it. Seagull can just kind of spam his Junkrat on through, and Boston, they'll lose Kellex at the beginning, so they're going to be forced to back up. That's going to give even more space for Dallas Fuel to take control of the choke point, but look at that. Striker being sneaky behind enemy lines, Dream Casper working up top. See if Striker can make a difference here, get a pick, or at least distract one of these members from the Dallas Fuel. They're going to use Sound Barrier to engage.
Yeah, Striker doesn't benefit from him because he was flanking, but he's still in a good position. It looks like Dallas still aren't alerted to his presence. Coco just eating damage right now with Fortify. Oh, he tries to go for Effect, but Effect sees him coming a mile off and gets him with the Deadeye. Now pressure towards the payload here, and the Dallas Fuel realize they have the advantage. Note gets brought back in with the Hulk, forced to try and dash away with his rocket boost, and he will escape, at least for now. First hurdle has been climbed by the Dallas Fuel. It required some alternates to use, but note that Effect has already got 62% after using a Deadeye in that previous fight.
Well, Neko will take out Chip, so you actually lose your Mercy here, who has Valkyrie up. This could be an opportunity for the Boston Uprising to go if they've done a nice job just kind of keeping track of ultimates. Kosta just used Transcendence, and you go kind of fast here. Maybe with this Dragon Blade and a Valkyrie of your own, you can take advantage of it, but it'll be Chip's back in the fight. Effect already up to another Deadeye. You still have this Supercharger from Coco, so a lot of good ultimates here to use with the Dallas Fuel. I think it's just, don't get sliced down by Dreamcasper. Don't let him come in and get like a 3K with this Dragon Blade.
Gamsu there gets eliminated pretty much straight away. However, resurrected, the Boston Uprising were ready to accept that potential casualty. Recall's forced out of strike, but he lets the Pulse Bomb go immediately. He's found Mickey with it. That might be the opening they're looking for. So many Dallas Fuel players now out of the picture. Because he's just in the back as Kosta, trying to stay alive. Look how split the supports are. Chip's now flying above the fight. Looks like for the most part he's struggling to get any big reses here.
Yeah, once this Valkyrie wears off, Dreamcasper has this blade. They do not have that Transcendence as well. The Boston Uprising setting a fantastic time here on their offensive side of Nambani. See the self-destruct come down here from Mickey. Dreamcasper just trying to get out of the way. Can't dodge it in time.
No, can't block a nuclear fallout, mate. That's not how it works. Coco to fall. Now a bit of chance for the Dallas Fuel to reinforce onto the payload here. It's Mickey on his own, essentially. No, it's going to be the Transcendence coming in for Kosta here. Mickey now, at least with a second lease on life, and a chance for the rest of the Fuel to get back into the fight. Knocked back around. Neko, a lot of space to work with here. Orbs are going to be flying thick and fast. Could be the last fight as Kosta takes down Gamsu. We're hearing a Deadeye vent channel from Effect. Who's in his line of sight? It's striking it again. He's found the Tracer and dealt with it. Now the Dallas Fuel have a bit more room to breathe, and they come back and hold.
And you thought for a second there, if Gamsu was able to extend that fight a little bit longer, you could like Helix charge up his Valkyrie, and then you would have Dreamcasper coming off of the spawn, no support ults on the other side with that Dragon Blade, playing everybody on the cart. That would have been game over in favor of Boston, but a big hold there from the Dallas Fuel. It's going to allow Chips to get closer towards his Valkyrie. Striker, let's see if he can do something with this pulse bomb. We've gone on him a few times, and he's gone on the flank, but just so much pressure being put on him. You see here by Seagull, he's going to force him to recall right away.
Okay, that makes it a little bit more dangerous for Striker to go in now, but Casper's pulled the Dragon Blade and found Effect already. Chips actually has himself the Valkyrie, so Effect's going to be brought back up there, and that could have gone a lot better for Casper. Seagull was waiting for him there, with that concussed his mind. Striker gonna have a bit of a moment, a bit of a teet-to-teet with Coco there, and going to pick him off. Now to pressure a little bit more. Over the fight is Helix. Chips as well when that Valkyrie is active, so healing is better, but Boston are just chunking through Dallas pretty comfortably here. Wave after wave of the Texans pouring out onto the payload, and yet it is the Boston Uprising with that man advantage constantly. Oh, total mayhem found Dreamcasper. Seagull there, leaving his grenade behind as he went back towards the spawn, was able to find the Genji, but still, players are running riot over here for the Boston Uprising, and that's going to be it. Okay. Took a heck of a lot to get them there, Matt, I'll be honest with you, but let's hear a little bit about the Dallas comms in round one, at least what they were talking about here, because this has been a very back and forth affair.
Whistle one. Do this one. Get this one. Kill a point. Dead. Kill a point. Yes, on point. Whistle this one. Whistle behind point. Whistle left side. Whistle left side. Listen. Okay, wait. Nice job, boys. Let's go.
You hear the communication from the Dallas Fuel there. Much cleaner than we've heard from them in the past. As it seems like they're starting to click, getting some of these new players really in tune with the kind of stable roster that they once had. I think it's very difficult to add a lot of these players to a roster who has been extremely stable for a long time, and now you're starting to see some of the benefits of having guys like Kosta and Seagull come in and play.
My ultimate is charging.
The Junkrat has been a big impact. Of course, for Seagull. We've seen it from quite a few teams that field their Junkrat players. The Houston Outlaws are a good example of this. Is the Texans just like blowing things up, Matt?
Yeah, it looks like they're going to go with the same comp outside. Mickey will play Roadhog here. Striker has had himself a game thus far. Obviously, we've played the offense and the defensive sides will go here into extra time, but he's got 43 elims to 11 deaths, 24 final blows, and 30% of team damage on Tracer. That is a pretty nice game thus far from Striker.
No doubt about it. Effect as well has about a similar proportion of damage for his team on that McCree. So two individuals stepping up, but then Boston Uprising also have Casper. Then you've got Seagull. So four very different DPS heroes, all trying to do different things. And now Striker again never plays with his team. You notice that, right? He always wants to be sort of that flank presence, or at least just play on his own a little bit. The Dallas Fuel trying to maneuver themselves into a position where they can get a backstab play, and Neko's already down. You can see the Uprising are trying to dive on top of them here. At least they've got the one-for-one trade. Effect has fallen. Striker had actually thought he'd found Custer on his own, but Seagull comes to the rescue. And it's just at least to take down that player. Good peel, those going over the edge.
Now you'll see the Dallas Fuel jump on to point A. Both supports still alive here for Boston. They're going to back out. I don't believe the Boston Uprising going to have another chance of getting here to contest point A. And Seagulls found Kellex. That is, you cannot, why not just back all the way out to the street at that point? You're going to, not really going to come out here and challenge at that corner. You should have just challenged at the corner, right? Maybe they thought they could challenge, a little bit before the first bridge, but that's so risky.
Yeah, I think as well, Kellex spawns further back.
He's going to get the bar spawn, yes.
Yeah, that's not ideal at all. I mean, again, your Mercy, you have Guardian Angel, you can dash to people, so it's probably not bad, but someone from Boston will have to go back and just stand there and allow Kellex to close the distance and get back with the rest of his team. So, not the end of the world, but again, over time now, this is where it gets interesting. This is where a Roadhog can be huge for you. That first pick is more important than old advantage in these fights, and Strike is down already. That's the first pick, not coming from the avenue we thought it would. Little bit of a missed time there on the ball and chain combo, but it doesn't matter. Casper's trying to go in with a Dragon Blade, and Effect will go down, but it's going to take a heck of a lot more than that one ultimate to save the day here for Boston. It looks like Dallas are still going to keep on the move for now.
They use their Valkyrie in this fight. Dallas Fuel. Chips pushes on forward. It's an interesting setup. They knew the dive was going to come in, and they leave Coco and Mickey on the payload. They just leave Effect and Seagull back with the supports, and Effect able to pick up one right away. And just the damage you can put down on Dreamcast, where he res those skills right back up after he uses the blade. So not a ton of damage there. So now they'll have Supercharger most likely for the next fight from Coco. You'll have Whole Hog, and you have this Riptire. Both support ults for Boston. I think Boston's in an interesting situation, right? Do you go for like the full stop and use both support ults? Do you only use one? It'll be no launching that self-destruct and just trying to separate some of the players here. Up the down.
Oh! That's scary. Kellex is going to go in and get resurrects on both those players, and he does, but Kellex is forced to give his life up in the process, so now Boston are going to be missing the Mercy in the fight. Not good. Mickey with a hook in there, puts him back up in the Butcher's shop, and Gamsu will fall. Coco able to deal with Note pretty comfortably, and Casper there. Again, the last stragglers of this fight are being picked off, and Striker will try and keep them busy, but he falls straight into a hook, able to get away. Mickey can't finish the job, but now the overtime still going, mind you, and Dallas have not been moved.
Yeah, Boston ended up using both of their support ults during that previous fight, so now all they have on the defensive end is Primal Rage. Stall this out. Chip's going to build up towards that Valkyrie very fast. It'll be Coco taking out Neko at the beginning.
Not what you want, not the way to want to start the fight, that's for sure. The Boston Uprising now missing their Zenyatta Effect. He's up on the side, he might have Note here as well. Just jump down, just give him a punch, give him something. Yes, he's dealt now with that mini Diva, and guess who's caught in a trap? It's Gamsu. We've seen that happening way too much recently. Casper headshot, it's happening! Striker taken down, and the Dallas Fuel complete the map, mostly in overtime. Because that's demoralizing, right?
Yeah, it's just too much for the Boston Uprising there. You know, when Neko falls at the beginning of that last fight, that is such a huge loss because of the Discord. You know, we don't have somebody to just kind of move Mickey off of the payload playing the Roadhog when Valkyrie's in the sky, right? And Roadhog can just take a breather and just get all that health back. When you don't have the Discord to kind of chunk him down through that HP kind of quick, he's just kind of an immovable object off of the point.
It feels like Boston had to double dive or double down on diving onto Effect at the start of these fights to remove the McCree, right? Because there's a good chance that one of those two flanking threats is just going to get flashed by Effect and shot in the face. And then that kind of leaves Seagull with a bit more freedom to move. You can see on that last fight, Gamsu tries to hit the backline, but he walks straight into a trap, completely demolishing things. And then you have a Roadhog in the mix here for Mickey. So not the Diva this time, but gives him that peak potential, puts him in an automatic 65, pressures Kellex to go for a res early sometimes, like they did just on that last stage with a Riptide.
It just makes the job of the flankers on the side of Boston Uprising, your Dreamcaster playing Genji and Striker playing Tracer, so difficult. I mean, you're dealing with a Roadhog hook, doing McCree flashbang, Seagull with the double mine and the trap, and Discord Horde from the Zenyatta. Like, there's so much you have to worry about. So many, and you know, they don't have large HP pools, right? Tracer and Genji, so like just able to just get them out of the equation. So, that's sneaky.
Oh, you gotta respect that Seagull there. Kind of reading into the approach to the Boston Uprising. Now, Casper's brought back. Again, he's definitely going to be a little bit incensed after that particular play, but he needs to be careful. There's no resurrect available for Kellex for the next few moments. But Striker's made his way in from the side, and Seagull's down. He's paid for his transgressions earlier in the round, but Effect and Chips are back in the fight. Effect giving a lot of distance here to the Diva Mech and able to deal with it, but no, with a Bunny Blaster, actually, he's getting a lot of work done. Coco on a Kellex and Striker again. He's got room to breathe. The Fuel are being pushed back. They need to snap back into this fight at some point, and Striker doesn't have a recall. He needs to be careful. He's at 25 HP. He'll need to wait. Get the health pack, but another player's taken it.
Dreamcatcher stole his health back. He's going to have to go up top. You see the problems when you go up against that Junkrat in that hallway, right? Striker wants to dive in, sees the trap there on the floor, has Effect there as well with potential flashbang. So difficult, not really giving Striker the space that a lot of other teams will give him to get work done.
However, the Uprising have an embedded threat in the back lines of the Fuel now. Coco is not aware. There's no value in Striker even trying to do damage to Coco right now. Seagull is close by. Striker wants an assassination. One full clip will give him his pulse off. Oh, Effect's found him! He has to dash back quickly. He actually dodged the flash. So be able to get out of that fight for now. Effect has bigger fish to fry, or monkeys as it were. Gamsy's trying to get in there. A lot of splash damage, but Chips has already fall down. Mickey though, finding the D-suit on Note. That's going to be huge later in the fight now that they're missing their Diva. Effect using the shield to his advantage. Striker constantly harassing, looking for him. He's like a Hornet in the backside. But he falls down, and now 35 seconds remaining. Dallas are playing such a compact style. It's so hard. And Effect now gets a chance to hit the shooting range.
Yeah, remember when we said Striker was going crazy? Effect is 50 limbs, 27 final blows, 30% of overall team damage, 16 deaths. The guy has just been a monster for Dallas Fuel here on Numbani. Can they hold? They have both support ults. You're going to have Supercharger. Dreamcatcher takes on Effect here early. It's going to have Seagull using the Riptire here.
Could end the fight.
Yep.
Oh, self-destruct thrown in the backseat. Seagull's gonna go down, and so is Chips. That's massive from Note. He's managed to take all of the energy out of the middle of the Dallas Fuel composition. Now Dreamcatcher's there to put the final touches on. It's like the brush strokes of an artisan just in the corner of the painting. Perfect for Boston. They really needed that. And clever from Note to realize that Seagull will be incapacitated while channeling the Riptire. And Chips had to sit in that hallway. Great way to break out a solid defensive composition.
And it allows now Boston to build up their support ults. He'll have Dreamcatcher with the blade. We can take a look at this one more time.
What do you do?
There comes the self-destruct. There's nowhere any of these guys can go. It's even Custa gets really weak there in the back. So we'll see how Dallas Fuel decides to take this next fight, right? Because they can't really dive onto the Boston Uprising. They're playing at a little bit further of a distance with this comp. You have both Transcendence and Valkyrie. Sound barrier here for Neko, who's playing the Lucio for Boston. So you figure maybe use sound barrier to engage, then follow it up with that Valkyrie.
Could be time for the Dragon Blade. Now, it's an early Transcendence here from Casper, drawn out of the fight. He was right. Casper would have been looking to try and get the Dragon Blade, but he's down. He might not have a chance to use it at all. No. Brought back to life, but no! They're pushed up the payload. The Boston Uprising is spread. Yes! It's a letter and a number. You know what it is. I don't need to tell you. But the Dallas Fuel will take map 1. The Boston Uprising in disarray, spread from the payload and give the round away.
And Jack from the London Spitfire has to change that sign. We're back to 0 days with that one now. As Boston Uprising, they get off of the payload there towards the end. A lot of commotion going on. But man, they never got a really great chance of using their support ults or their Dragon Blade at the end there.
Frustrating way to give a map away for the Boston Uprising. You've looked so good so far this season. A chance to bring it back now as map 2 is just around the corner.
You're not weak! I'm on. Mercy, he's good. I'm low. I got bomb! President. Down point. What's the trap? What's the trap? Burn! Just again your point. Get in, he's good. Tyrant, let's go.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
Well, it was probably only about 11 hours ago or so, Matt, that we saw the Dallas Fuel in this arena, obviously going up against the San Francisco Shock. They're back this morning, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and already taken a map away here from the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, big reason with that map is Effect. He played tremendous map number 1. There's really a lot of times where you can't say he played great. The hero damage he puts down on McCree, you see the weapon accuracy there. And he ends up finishing, I believe, with, yeah, he finishes with like a little bit more damage than Seagull playing the Junkrat. So really impressive stuff from Effect playing McCree.
Yeah, impressive in fact that he can get more damage than Seagull in this kind of setup now as well.
Yeah.
But you can see how hard it is for a dive composition to play up against what Dallas have been using, because with a Tracer and a Genji, you can't poke or force down shields very well at all.
Yeah.
You got a Winston, who really doesn't interact with shields much at all. Obviously the damage can go through shields, but it's very minimal. And then you got a Diva, who yes, theoretically could damage shields, but she needs to be diving, right? So this comp that we're seeing from the Boston Uprising might need a tweak if they're going to be able to deal with the Dallas Fuel comp, especially because Dallas Fuel use the terrain around them, right? They force you to flank them because you can't go through the shield with this kind of composition Boston have been bringing. And on Numbani, that lower level room on defense, is so hard to break.
Yeah, and I think you look at the the dive composition, right? When you have Winston, Diva, Tracer, Genji against this Orisa, Roadhog, McCree, Junkrat combination where you just put down a ton of damage. It's like, well, the comp that the Boston Uprising is running with the dive, they can't go through the shield exactly like you're saying, because you're dealing with traps, mines from Junkrat, flashbangs, Orisa's halt, right? There's just a lot of just kind of front-loaded damage there. We were talking a little bit during the break. I would love to see a team when they go up against this Orisa, Roadhog, McCree, Junkrat combination. So think about maybe running quad tank. And then just don't even worry about that Orisa barrier, right? You can break down the Orisa barrier with like, your Roadhog or whatnot. The Zarya gets charged up by that Junkrat. Makes it a little bit easier, right? You go through that barrier and you get like Moira start healing everybody up. She gets a coalescence real quick. Then you're not even worried about the Orisa shield, right? Then you're forcing Orisa to start to back up. That's kind of what you want her to do.
It's all about pressuring that shield down. If there's an Orisa on the field, either force her to keep refreshing it or get around it. And not in the Australian sense of getting around it, actually get around the shield. So Boston Uprising on the defensive side here, Matt. And their composition doesn't look much different, which is reasonable because we know that they're probably just going to go with what they're good at. And they are very good at dive. But they're going to have to contest with Dallas Fuel probably going for a similar approach. Maybe, again, throw a Widowmaker in here. Maybe double sniper. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think for the Boston Uprising, there were two options here. Maybe you get the Orisa with the Widowmaker and sit up on that high ground. But looks like they're just more worried about Effect's Widowmaker, and they're just going to try and dive this out. So we'll see. Maybe they run the double sniper here. Seagull, a very good Hanzo player. We've seen him play it on maps like Junkertown. It looks like he's going to go back and change. He's going to go with Junkrat here. So the only real change from this comp is you're going to have Widow instead of McCree. So a very similar comp here from the Dallas Fuel.
Oh, Effect knows.
Yeah. It's a much different map than Numbani, though, right? I mean, you don't have that small choke point by point A here like on Numbani, so I'm wondering how they're going to do this when they push to the point.
This might have backfired in the face of the Boston Uprising, by the way, but they've lost 2 players here. And Kellex, if he went for a resurrect here, he'd be putting himself in harm's way. And Dallas now can essentially just waltz in. They don't even have to take the point right now, just set up strong positioning. Walking on, Seagull pressuring that high ground as well, making it very hard for that support duo. Always going in for the kill. He might have a mine available. This could be nasty. Neko getting knocked up. He found Kellex as well. The Mercy now won't be available for any resurrect, and this has gone about as bad as it possibly could have. Oh, Neko catches one more, and Seagull dishes out some death.
Dallas Fuel take point A with relative ease. 7 minutes, counting down now to take point B. But remember during the preseason, we were talking about Boston. The one thing they seemed to struggle with was those mid-game adjustments. This is clearly not working for them right now. How long do they stay on this before they decide, hey, we need to do something drastically different right now to counter this comp?
I mean, switching here, Blinky scuttled their ultimate economy on those heroes, and maybe it's not worth it now. They need to just try and make this fit somehow. Coco's very low, but here's a Riptide. Ooh, actually takes a Shuriken. It does eventually get taken down. At least he exploded a little bit early on. But Coco goes down to Striker there, and Casper going in deep. Chips, they want to fight this one. Dallas are adamant. Stubborn. They want to get the game finished now, but Trent Casper's not done. He finds Seagull, and someone got caught up there as well. Looks like Neko is in a trap. Mickey can't take a breather there. And it was a Valkyrie committed to the fight, but Dallas still weren't able to succeed in That's a huge boost here for the Uprising.
Yeah, now Boston can kind of put together a few good defensive stands, you would think, right? They have their own Valkyrie, but you do have to be careful, with the way Kellex has been getting, picked off during his Valkyries, getting close down towards Seagull, and the likes of Effect when he was playing McCree. Now it's even scarier, right? You haven't played the Widowmaker, so Kellex not going to be able to fly through the sky. So he just lands a body shot on Neko. Dallas Fuel, they do have their supercharger, and they're going to have Transcendence here, so.
It's like, and it feels like they can't really dive effect with everyone, or with their full dive composition, because in doing so, they'll make their support very vulnerable. Neko's lucky to be alive there. Second shot to fight connect. Effect's being tested a bit here, and you can see that's a nice dive. Gamsu and Note get both supports immediately to end the fight.
I tell you, they give him that much space, though. There are not many times he's going to miss a headshot more on a Neko there, playing Zenyatta standing out in the open. So Boston Uprising, they do get a fight win. Have to use any ults here, so you have your Dragon Blade, you have Pulse Bomb, they're fully stacked outside of Transcendence, so in a good spot here. Effect will switch off. Oh, that is filthy. Neko takes out Effect, who switches off of Widowmaker, will go over to Reaper, so now you're really starting to get this to be a little bit like Death Volley, right? You're just gonna kind of keep moving forward with Coco playing Orisa.
Oh, it's the 4-man Pulse Bomb! Nothing left of Dallas Fuel but cinders and charred extremities. Perfect. He timed that so well, Matty got him, and as soon as they walked together inside the side room.
What I was going to say is Dallas Fuel is going to use this comp and wait for the players of Boston Uprising to come to them. Ideally, this doesn't happen when they come towards them.
That 4th of July up in here. To be honest,
that is sick.
You're playing this very sort of packed, closely packed composition in Dallas Fuel, so
you're prone for things like
very susceptible to Tracer, especially Pulse Bomb. Gonna go again though, Matt. They've wasted no time in getting back in the fight.
So Dragon Blade on the other side, stack up like that again.
Gonna be agility. Contenders all over again. It looks like here's an offensive dive. Dallas have put themselves into quite close quarters, but looks like they have to fight now. The Transcendence coming out indicates they were expecting that kind of engagement, but Coco's down. Note's actually found that self-destruct kill inside the room. Dallas are being forced to scuttle left and right to try and avoid some of this damage. This AoE that the Uprising are now trying to throw in the dive as well, not making their lives any easier. Gamsu and Casper are down, but with Striker still at large, the Dallas Fuel are going to pull the pin.
It was smart though, but Boston, once they force out the Transcendence, they back out a little bit. They already got the pick on to Coco. They're able to win that fight. Still another fight win for the Boston Uprising, where they don't have to use one of these support ults. So you're going to have the 2-to-1 support ult advantage coming into this next fight. Effect building up towards that Death Blossom. You don't really know when you're looking. You don't really get a ton of use out of Death Blossom. Oh, it's Dreamcast. He gets stuck in a trap, gets a reflex. Another one! Another Pulse Bomb coming out from Striker. He connects with 2. You did use your Transcendence there, Boston Uprising, to keep some players up.
This is going to be really hard for Dallas Fuel's composition to actually get to the point without taking significant casualties early on. Casper, Dragon Blade's going to be there. We can see how quickly Striker's able to get the Pulse Bomb, because he's just putting clip after clip after clip into tanks like Mickey and Coco. And sure, while Dallas can heal that damage pretty comfortably, their big bodies have got large HP pools, they're still giving ultimate charge to Striker, whose Pulse Bomb is the most devastating, tool in Boston's arsenal against a team like Dallas here.
And now it seems like Boston is really kind of starting to hit a stride against his competition. You see it a little bit more. It'll be Casper who gets hit with a mine here. He's forced to back up, so he's not going to get a ton of use out of this Dragon Blade. When the push comes in, Effect uses the Death Blossom, maybe catch some more players coming on in. Doesn't get much of anything. It'll be Chips using Valkyrie, brings Effect back into the fight.
Striker again working out on the periphery. He's got another Pulse Bomb again. Surely not. No, Seagull counters him this time before he can get in the mix and blow them up. Dream Casper falls now as well, and Kellex with that Valkyrie definitely needs to get some resurrecting done. He brought Striker back into the fight, but Seagull also is restored. Neko takes a bit of damage. Coco tries to pull him up above the brick stack with the hold. Seagull in with that Riptire, but his intended target had already been felled. Now Effect has some room to breathe himself. He can catch some of these respawns in. That's one tick already. Casper, Neko's there as well. He falls to the Hellfire shotguns, and Effect's not done there yet. Waits for the deflected timeout. Leak balance, Dream Casper, and now Note has to push himself into the tank killer himself. Effect will be more than happy to catch these big bodies as they try and stall out the point. That's 2 ticks for those following at home. Mickey's found 2 though with 1 whole hog. Neko, what do you do from here? He goes for the Transcendence. Effect's going to hold on to his Death Blossom now, wait for a chance to use it. Dragon Blade from Dreamcaster going in, he's trying to make the difference, but he's got to back away. It's a breakdance bonanza for Effect out on the point, and that's it. The Dallas Fuel get it done. Has a grind. What an atrocious progress, and again, you're playing this anti-dive composition. We can see now sometimes it's not great in trying to start off these fights in a big way and get early picks. They've just got to kind of try and work around their Junkrat in that position.
You know, I mean, Dallas Fuel does take point B. They do have 1:15 in their time bank. But just think about the position that Boston was in when point B got unlocked. It was 7 minutes on the clock. It was actually a very long hold there for the Boston Uprising. Kind of makes this map a little bit more manageable, right? Like, it got scary there at the beginning of the game.
Well, the Boston Uprising had given away 2 kills early on because playing a defensive dive composition is always risky. You're always walking a very fine line between, appropriate amounts of aggression for a defending team to pick off players, and then far too much going over aggressive, knowing that the enemy team spawns far closer than you do to that first point as a defender. You can only be so aggressive, and that's where the dive composition can struggle when your margins are so thin. The risk, it skyrockets.
So let's see now with Boston on offense what their game plan is. You have to know, watching the Fuel match against the Shock, they are committed to the Orisa combination with Seagull on Junkrat. Like, that's pretty much what they ran the entire series. So you have to have a good idea. They're going to play around the Orisa shield with a Widowmaker here on defense. How does Boston go and attack this? It looks like, most likely they will go just a straight dive. It's just, where does the dive come in from?
Yeah, I think this setup enables a Junkrat a lot more. Playing forward with this Orisa shield is set up back on the building. It also means you don't have to mess around with May early on to give people a wall. However, it's far easier now for that offensive dive to reach you, right? So you still need to be very, very good at staving off those initial aggressive pushes from an attacking team. Oh, Seagull.
He gets somebody with the trap again.
Here, they're going to need that health pack, by the way, because they're going to get chunked out. Surely Striker's seen this. Maybe not. There's so much poke damage here for the Dallas Fuel. We call it a spam composition. You can probably see why, because everyone just holds mouse 1 and kind of tries to aim in the direction they expect opponents to be. Oh.
Super risky, just coming flying around the corner there on effect, but he gets Custa early. They're going to get chips as well. 2 huge kills for the Boston Uprising as they get on to point A.
And that is all on effect. No one to blame but himself there. He had an opportunity to pick Striker up. He let it inside his house, and Striker snatched up all the silverware and went on his merry way.
It was great timing from the Boston Uprising. As soon as Striker comes around that corner, drops lower, the push came in from the Boston Uprising onto that top bridge, forced the supports off of it, and Striker's right there to just finish off the rest of the damage that was needed.
Big boo-boo, Dallas Fuel. And not the Yogi Bear kind. Now Striker waiting off to the left-hand side again. Still hasn't used a pulse bomb, so he's going to have that as well. And we can see that everyone needs to play around this shield. So again, it's got to be quick. He's got to let one clip go, get his ultimate, then fight another attack, and he's found 2. How? How has he done that? Chips and Seagull have dropped. Now a pulse bomb in. Striker is just cutting a bloody swat through the Dallas Fuel. That's his 3rd kill here, and Kellex will bring back those just in case they need the extra bodies on the point, but they may well not. Striker with 5 kills in the fight.
And they're going to have their Blade here. No support ults up for Dallas Fuel. It's going to be Neko getting his Transcendence here as well. And they can't even get back to the point. The Boston Uprising run through the Dallas Fuel, taking A and B with 6 minutes and 24 seconds left in their time bank. That's about as fast as an offensive push gets.
And Dallas were a Jenga tower in that round. All they had to do was let Striker in. The most impactful player, arguably next to this man on screen, but one of the most impactful players on this team. Also, he acts as the starter's pistol for the rest of the Boston Uprising. If he's in position, it's go time. Now, they probably would have seen Striker dash in initially to try and get onto the point, and Effect knew he was coming, but he missed the shot, and cleverly, Boston applied a pressure just at the moment that shot missed, so that Effect didn't actually have the room to try and go for a follow-up shot on towards Striker, who was then free to just be, I guess, the anvil to the hammer of the dive comp of Boston as they approach that middle part of the map.
Well, it's a hard angle for Effect to get that second shot, because it's basically straight down onto the point. And then what do? Seagull turns around, just starts chucking nades at him, then that takes away all that front damage that you have on, Note playing Diva, Gamsu on Winston, and then Dreamcaster playing Genji. And then Effect, even if he looks down, he doesn't know if Dreamcaster's coming up to the high ground with like a dash and right to his face. So it's put Effect in a very difficult spot when he's not able to get that initial kill there onto Striker.
Again, Dallas Fuel now go on the attacking side. And the Boston Uprising managed to set the cat amongst the pigeons, so to speak, but for Dallas it'll be far trickier to do that. This time, Boston aren't going to give them anything for free. They're playing much more passively, despite having the same composition as their first defense. A dive style composition. Note been caught here. Maybe a little bit slow to react. He can't block a hook with defense matrix.
You know, maybe if Boston can get up to effect on that high ground when he plays the Widowmaker, there's not like a diva to go up there and get some of that damage away from him, right? Like, what do they do if they get up to effect on the high ground? It's really just forces effect to come down. There'll be a team kill here from Boston in that first fight. They'll force some changes out of the Dallas Fuel, so Custom will play Lucio here, get that speed through the choke, just try and get this comp onto the point. Effect will play McCree, so you know, for lack of a better word, the effect that Striker is having here on Dallas Fuel.
Better than
they're definitely feeling it.
No doubt about it. Striker drops in, about 100 HP, forced to recall early, but Casper and Note have already been getting the job done here. It's comfortable, it's easy, it's almost lazy for the Boston Uprising now as they sit and they receive the push. They find the target, the calling's been so good. And now there's only 1 second remaining, no one from the Dallas Fuel on the point to see it. And the Boston Uprising slam the door in the face of the Dallas Fuel, and now they'll have a chance to attack, to finish this map and make it one apiece.
And we talked about maybe Boston, you know, what are they going to do mid-game adjustments? We see the Dallas Fuel rolling. They have not adjusted the comp, just the play style around it. They've played a little bit more passive until Striker gets in a position where he knows he can make a play. Then the call comes down, and then the dive comes in.
I appreciate as well that Boston can recognize that the mistake they made on their first defense was just that. It was just a mistake. So you go with the same composition. You go with a defensive dive mindset, but you just apply that approach at the right time. All right, you know, you use Note, maybe he baits someone out of position, he baits some cooldowns out. The hook now was no longer available for Mickey as he managed to connect with the Diva. Perhaps that is when, as Dreamcasper, you're feeling more confident in starting the dive with the rest of your team. Whatever the decision-making was, Matt, that was an adjustment for the Boston Uprising. It worked very well. And Dallas is struggling to have answers with this comp, which is the only comp they can really play right now.
I feel like when you look at this comp for the Dallas Fuel, when you're going to play dive up against it, it's really trying to get like Seagull out of the equation, right? He can do so much damage to the tanks. And then also, you know, the double mine over towards Striker when he plays Tracer can be devastating. If you get Seagull out of the equation, then you can kind of collapse onto effect with both flankers, and then, you know, Arisa can't really be as mobile to get out of the position she's in. The supports become a little bit more vulnerable. It's a lot of pressure on Seagull playing the Junkrat.
And basically, if anyone on the Boston Uprising can see Seagull, that's when he's going to be vulnerable. When Striker's down early, the res is used, and Casper wants to try and chase in here a little bit. I believe that was, yeah, a couple of shurikens thrown in the mix. Striker's down for a second time. Effect now, he's having none of it. Oh! All right, Casper attempted to go for a bit of a steeplechase, but Mickey wasn't going to allow him to get away. That's important because, again, Boston have been good at embedding like one flanker in the back line of the Dallas Fuel and then just leaving him there until it's ready to go. Again, they have the hammer, which is most of their team. The anvil is normally that individual flanker that comes out and follows up on the damage done.
To try and catch Dallas Fuel off guard a little bit, they tried to split up their flankers. They tried to send Striker to the right, Dreamcasper to the left, so you don't exactly know it's the same play as before, right? You have to kind of respect the fact that you have flankers on both sides. The collapse could come in from either way. The effect taking out Gamsu here at the beginning. So what they did good before was allowing the DPS players, Striker and Dreamcasper, to get in position. Then the dive comes in. This time, you know, Gamsu dives a little bit too deep. They do get Coco though. We'll see if this gets rezzed up.
Again, Dreamcasper waiting in the wings now for his opportunity. He sees some low support. He wants to go for it, but he gets caught up with the whole. Coco now going to hold him in place, but Effect drops out. He was just a slither of HP, and Neko was there to finish him off. Now Mickey might be the next target. Dreamcasper has a bit of room to breathe, and now we start to feel it. Copying a lot of damage here, and Coco's in his way, but Neko helps him deal with that target as well. Might be time for Dragonblade here, but Casper wants to play it slow. In the moment that he took, though, Striker has fallen. He's currently the only flanking DPS player on his team that's up. And now Gamsu getting caught in a trap. Might mean it's going to be a struggle, but he's going to go for it anyway. Reflects Mickey's whole hog back at him, and now it's time for the Dragonblade. Pitfire tries to get away to safety, but Dreamcasper climbs the wall. This could be dangerous for him, though. But Neko, this entire fight, has been there. Consistent damage available, and the Boston Uprising get it done. Evening up the series here at 1 map apiece. And again, just looking better, more flexible, more versatile, and a little bit more intuitive on this map.
It's not about changing their composition, it's just adjusting their play style to make it work around what the Dallas Fuel has been running. Now I think it's the Dallas Fuel's turn. How do they answer back with the adjustment that Boston has made?
Again, our control map's just coming up around the corner after the halftime break. That'll be a telling sign to see if Dallas are going to be able to take this series away. See you soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by
Watch out, don't push it, focus on the supports coming in right side. Kill Monsieur. He's gonna tire you soon. Don't catch right side, he's right side. Yeah, stay point. Don't cut, behind. Point. Stay.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. We are all tied up one apiece between the Boston Uprising and the Dallas Fuel. Dallas struck first, but Boston comes roaring back, and now we have an even playing field. Let's welcome back. We got Bren and Crumbs on the desk once again, and we got to start this conversation with the Dallas Fuel. Last night, they showed some stubbornness in their comps, or really just found something that's working for them. The Hog Orisa was back today. Brett, did this catch you off guard?
It did a little bit. It surprised me quite a bit because this Hog Orisa composition is very stationary. You're very immobile, which means that when teams are very capable at running dive composition, they should just be running all over you because that's the limitations of running the Orisa.
Well, not only did it catch you off guard, Bren, but it also caught the Boston Uprising off guard, and we're going to get to see the first play of this series in our Insights powered by Intel replay here as we go into the Telestrator segment. And on Numbani, you typically have the high ground defense be right here as we see from Boston. So this defense prompts a dive. You have the Winston, the Diva. Sometimes we even see support players switch to a Genji to try to tackle this, but instead the Fuel is running their tank composition. So as we play this replay out, we get to see that Striker identifies this composition has been run. You have the Orisa and Roadhog, and they're going to go from the low ground. So everybody knows what's going on. But the way that Boston plays it is a little peculiar because they understand that they have range advantage. You've got the Junkrat. Junkrat is not going to be able to shoot anything from here, obviously not from there, but he can't hit this high ground. And then you have the Roadhog Orisa combination, which can't do a whole lot at this range. So what should happen from Boston is that they just need to be patient and wait for the Dallas field to play the point. And as they approach the point, you see that the Boston Uprising is just spread all over the map and decide to engage on the Dallas field, which is exactly what they want. You want this composition to have people diving into you in this tight little corner because Junkrat is going to take over this entire area. So Boston, instead of waiting for a field to play the point, decided to bring the fight to the Dallas field, which is exactly what works for them. And that lack of patience, I think, was the undoing for them, because what should happen is that you have the D.Va just eating up all the halt hook combos, nobody's taking any damage, and you can just constantly pummel away at this little choke. But because they do not wait for Dallas to make the first move, they just get picked off every single time. And the point goes so smoothly, then within 45 seconds, point one's already gone with a composition that you'd never even expect.
Excellent insights powered by Intel there. I'm going to steal it, Crumbs. Fantastic work there on the telestrator. Bren, real quick for the people at home, let's talk about this composition and why it might work for Dallas Fuel. We've seen Boston having success with the dive against the London Spitfire. As we take a look at some of the highlights, dive, you would think it's going to be the superior composition on Numbani.
So superior is absolutely correct, Puckett. It should be, in theory, right? You're running this immobile composition that Dallas are running, mainly because it's their comfort heroes, it's their comfort picks. They can't run the dive composition too well with XQC not being able to play. So Dallas have opted to run with this Orisa combo, and Boston, I actually feel like this is them going into it with the same attitude that they have against teams that run dive. So they're not waiting it out, they're not being patient. It's throwing them off guard a little bit. They're playing it similar to how they played against London, actually, by playing sort of hyper-aggressive dive, whereas with this composition, it's okay to just wait and let Dallas push out, let them take positionings, and then wait for your openings and your opportunities to capitalize off a little bit later on.
All right, well, we did see some adjustments made by Boston a little bit later on. Let's go into game number 2 as we take a look at Anubis. Once again, some Orisa in action, one of the slowest tanks in the game, but somehow Dallas made it work on their attack.
Yeah, in general, it was just very good coordinated play from Dallas, to be honest. But Boston did end up coming back from this, right? And this is the issue here, is because you run this composition on a map like Anubis, it is very choke pointy, but at the same time, it's very sort of open, and it allows sort of when you run heroes like Genji, like the D.Va, like the Winston, you got a lot of angles of attacks to come in from. So Boston did end up clinching out this map based on that fact alone. This composition does have limitations, it does have weaknesses, and they were made more evident here on Anubis.
I think you definitely saw it on the defense as well. What was that, 30 seconds to take point A for Boston?
Ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. That's how it should be.
When the Tracer gets on the Orisa, you just don't have any way to deal with it. Your Hall is not going to catch her. You don't have any actual way to turn around and keep hitting her. And on the actual second point attack from Dallas Fuel, you saw how much they were struggling. You saw Striker there hit a 4K with his Pulse Bomb, which was in combination with Gamsu. It was a two-pronged attack. But the real issue there came down to the patience that Boston was not displaying, because a lot of ultimates kept coming out of Dallas before they even got to the point. All you got to do, just wait it out. You don't have to take the fight. If the player uses an ultimate, okay, cool. If you have the opportunity to back off and give him zero value for it, that's typically the correct play.
Dallas was able to steal the win in game number 1, but it looks like Boston is learning as this series goes on. Brandon, we're going to close out halftime with one more clip. Talk me through it as we look at the push coming in from Boston. What adjustments did they make?
Yeah, absolutely. So this really just highlights that Boston were making adaptations as the game was going on. So this is basically exactly what you have to do. Dive onto the backlines hard and fast when you see an opening, and that's exactly what they found. They realized, when Orisa doesn't have her shield let down, when the team is split up a little bit, that's the right opportunity, time to go in, and they just waited. They let them come onto the point. Whereas before, they were getting a bit impatient on Numbani. They were diving preemptively, sort of getting themselves killed. With Anubis, they slowed it down a little bit. It's okay to wait for them to come onto the point because they found the openings there.
Every single series, we're going to be crowning a player of the match. Who's in the running so far?
I think right now it's Striker for me. He has had some moments where he got caught off guard, but for the most part, he has been such a pillar of consistency for this team. His tracer play, I mean, we don't need to see anything else besides his tracer play. Look at that, those statistics.
So I just want to compare these just to give you guys at home some context for these statistics here. 80% of pulse bombs attached is absolutely nutty, right? That's double what you normally get when you're playing tracer. And that was partly because of the composition he was playing against. When you're playing that Orisa that Dallas were running, the Orisa sort of close tank comp, right? You're going to get a lot more pulse bomb kills and a lot more pulse bombs attached because Striker is prioritizing the tanks with his pulse bombs.
Enough from us. I want to hear from the crowd. What do you guys think of Striker's play so far? You impressed? Striker, early candidate for player of the match so far, but we know the Fuel is going to look to steal that title. Will Effect and the boys be able to get the job done? Control is coming up next. The map will be Ilios when we return. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
Extremely impressed with how Boston came out there on Control.
Dallas Fuel resoundingly winning this team fight.
Striker's being very, very slippery, very hard to catch.
Mickey holding strong. Revenge.
Oh, I get excited about that stuff, man. Hold me.
Dallas dominates.
Boston looking very good here on defense.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The duel has begun.
Yeah, update on that one. Matt never held me. Still refuses to do so.
I never will. I never will. But we get into the series yet again. It'll be game 3 between Boston and Dallas. We're going to go over to Ilios. No subs from either team, so you'll still see Seagull and Effect as the DPS duo here for the Dallas Fuel. I wonder if we see Seagull play anything other than the Junkrat. That's pretty much primarily what he's played throughout the whole series.
He said to me, I walked past him in the makeup room this morning, he said, I'm getting sick of playing Junkrat, Mitch, I'll be honest with you. I was like, well, that's great. Where's the Genji? Where's the Pharah? But again, it's clear to see that Dallas now have had to really tighten the belt and go for one style that works best. And this is the advice we always give to teams, or we talk about maybe the teams should follow when they are in turmoil. So I wouldn't expect them to really try and mess with their formula. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm just going to give it to you straight. Ilios and Control in general has not been a good map type at all for Dallas in the past. Some of their worst performances of the season have come on this map. Just putting it out there.
But they have looked much better over, their last game against Shock, and then here today against Boston Uprising than they did in their previous matches. Also, they had a pretty difficult schedule.
They had an incredibly rough run over the first few weeks, which is tough because it doesn't give you as much time maybe to coalesce or solidify your approach. And, then you're having these problems that are being revealed that you otherwise might be able to have time to work out slowly, but when you're going up against top team after top team after top team, then it's relentless and it builds up and yada, yada, yada. You get my point. But now we're going to be heading over on towards Lighthouse. We've seen Dream Casper with the Pharah on multiple occasions on this map, and it wouldn't be surprising if it goes back to that. But Pharahs do not like Outlaws, and Gunslingers, in effect, will be waiting here to try and pick him out of the sky.
Such an interesting matchup, because both teams know what the other team wants to run. It's just who can really force that style of play on the other. Now, the main change you see at the top of your screen, Dreamcasper will be playing Pharah here. Everything else pretty much stays the same.
And without a D.Va as well, Dallas Fuel's backline will have to stay quite close to Coco. And even then, they're going to be harassed down because Strike has had an amazing match so far. And our Dreamcasper is probably going to be able to capitalize on the fact that so much space and distraction has been created by the Traitor in the backline. Again, bit of respect. He does notice effect there with the tip of the hat in Dreamcasper's direction, starts flinging off some shots, but there it is. Custer falls early on. Seagull now down to Dreamcasper, and Chips has fallen. Striker has gone in with the rest of his team. Discord Orbs, most importantly, has helped him pick up both supports for the Dallas Fuel. The Roadhog can't protect his backline nearly as well as, of course, that D.Va could. And here's a switch from Mickey.
Yeah, Mickey's going to have to play D.Va here in this scenario. And Roadhog, against this comp, it'd be very difficult to make him work, especially because so much damage that Dreamcasper can do from a distance. And then at that point, you're just giving the DPS players like Striker and Dreamcasper so much charge towards their ultimate, and all Mickey's doing is just pretty much, taking a breather and backing up.
Yeah, no. And we know that Striker, what he can do now with pulse bombs against a composition that needs to stay together so much, man. It's just something that can quickly spiral out of control here for the Dallas Fuel. So they made changes.
And this is an interesting angle that Dreamcasper's taking. A lot of times you play back towards your point, they're getting very close to backcapping. Striker will actually go and contest it. They leave effect up top with that shield, and they just collapse right down on top of him.
Gamsu may have gone down here, but the principle and the concept of that was great. Dreamcasper drops in, he just distracts people, he gets the attention of effect, and then out of nowhere, Gamsu just comes screeching on in, and now Dreamcasper once again has that space. And again, that aerial superiority, Dallas are looking very, very muted on this map.
It was a good attempt from the Dallas Fuel, right? You put the Orisa shield up top, then you ran both tanks to the point, and you were just really banking on that dive coming through and just having enough damage out of Seagull and the Junkrat to just get one of these tanks down. But I just really love the angles that Dreamcasper has played here on the Pharah. It makes it very difficult for Effect to get any type of line of sight on him.
As soon as you've got a McCree's head turned, it's so easy to dive on top of him and maybe overwhelm the McCree with limited mobility and self-peel in the form of that flashbang. But now Dallas are going to make another crack at it here, going over towards the point. There goes down early. You can see now the barrage coming through. No, it was micro rockets and barrage, in fact. But Dreamcasper was the one getting the real damage done. Effect fell. Striker now sitting inside the dome. Effect has a chance to come back, and now with the Transcendence in play, Striker's going to respect us that much more. But it's just a two-man show right now. Custer and Effect are the only players who are really around to get this one, and it's really not an effective use of that Transcendence. Another support ultimate drawn out of Chips. They've got to go now. It's the only chance for Dallas to bring back in this round, but Chips is done. And the Boston Uprising just looks so good right now on Ilios. And the monkey on the back of Dallas continues to swing its fist because they still haven't found their answer on Ilios, man.
Yeah, they just, with this composition that they're trying to run against this Pharah, it's been pretty difficult. Dreamcasper does 43% of overall team damage there.
43%.
It's insane. Just getting so much, just free farm up in the sky, just able to put down a ton of damage.
In all fairness, Effect had 41% of his team's damage. I mean, again, you've got compositions that run Mercy. You often see damage is more allocated towards a DPS than it otherwise would be, especially a comp without a Zenyatta in there. Custer obviously was on the Zen.
This will be fun. You get a Widowmaker battle between Dream, Casper, and Effect here as we go over to Ruins.
Okay, I thought Kellex might be bringing out the Lucio for the entire round and not switching, because it looks like Custer might be sticking on this, which would be really interesting. But Kellex has switched over to the Mercy now. So both teams with Mercies. Dallas lacking a Zenyatta now. Casper, again, he's probably looking to see if there's going to be an enemy Widowmaker, which there is. Once that's dealt with, Casper can get a bit more aggressive in his positioning. Oh, Effect picks him out of the sky, though. A little bit of overconfidence from Casper there proves to be his undoing.
Well, he has to actually go for that grapple hook and move around it because Effect is sitting behind that Orisa shield. So just trying to get an angle on Effect as he set up on that bridge. Gamsu still alive for Boston, behind enemy lines here. And he's going to be in a lot of trouble. You see his health dwindling down top of your screen. See where he is. He's just getting pushed out so far. Boston able to get on the objective. It's just whether Gamsu can get back into the fight or not.
Yeah, Gamsu's pulled him away from the points, but Dallas were able to respond quickly enough, and Striker is the drive-by, but instead he's the one that gets picked off. The concussive mind to catch him, and now it's going to be very low HP Mercy from Kellex, who is going to quickly scurry away to what he perceives to be safety, but it may not be the case for very long. Trap put down. Casper just trying to dance around that one. Would hate to be caught and allow Seagull just to rain grenades on top of him there, but Gamsu puts himself in fairly close quarters, but Seagull gets taken out by Casper. Now Casper's starting to wake up a little bit more on this map. The Genji starting to prove quite the nuisance here with his third kill.
Yeah, now they decided instead of just having that Widowmaker battle between Dream, Casper, and Effect just had the protection from that Orisa shield. They've decided to switch off of it, just gonna go dive him on top. It's gonna force Effect to switch off of the Widowmaker. Will now go over to McCree. So pretty much back at square one in terms of team comps, right? Outside of Custa will continue to play Lucio.
Yeah, definitely a sense that Effect wanted Boston to try and go 1-for-1 against him with a Mercy, with a Widowmaker mirror match. So now them switching has provoked him to do so too. Dallas need to get out of these close quarters because that Dragon Blade will be very effective. A lot of value there for Dream Casper. Oh, the trap, he actually looks down this time. So he does see that one here. Mickey, whole hog coming out. Casper now has to use his reflect there just to make sure his team can maintain positioning on the point. Chips raising Seagull. Kellex also in position now to get Gamsu back. And I think Casper might have to get involved in this fight fairly soon.
Chips still with his Valkyrie. He's going to use it in close quarters. It's going to be Dream Casper connects one with the Dragon Blade. He's just swiping over by Seagull's body, hoping Chips comes right back in to try and go for the res. Chips too smart. The Effect using a Deadeye. Taking out Dream Casper as Dallas Fuel put the point back.
Yeah, much better from the Dallas Fuel now. A bit of a recovery here. Deadeye claim Dream Casper. See Neko taken down. And Chips as well getting involved in the fight a little bit. So we've got a sound barrier here at the very least for Custer. The only support ultimate on the field, and it might prove the difference in this next fight, especially if Boston go in and dive and they telegraph that a little bit more, right? You got a chance to respond, give yourself a little bit more of that staying power, which Dallas so desperately needs.
In Boston, they use everything in that previous fight. Now Dallas Fuel, I mean, you have Supercharger, you have Whole Hog, you have that sound barrier like you were saying. Just whether Custa can connect with most of the members of Dallas Fuel, keep them up through this. I think the more interesting thing is how does Boston go and attack this? Try and get one of these ultimates out as Dream Casper will take out the Riptire from Seagull. Note will actually take Seagull out, but he actually takes
Total mayhem there as well. Yeah. Dropping some grenades. Martyrdom, some people know it is from other games, and now Mickey needs to fight back. He does. A bit of presence on the point here for the Dallas Fuel. Effective fall down though. They need him back in this fight, but Striker's also missing. So both DPS threats to neutralize, and Kellex is going to fall. A perfect hook, somehow catching him as he passed by the very small aperture, and now with the overtime wick burning down. Note's going to get booped away, immediately desuited, needs to throw himself on towards the point. Dallas need this round so badly to stay in this series in general. The Gamsu's going to drop down. He falls again. Overtime, 1 by 1. Boston throwing themselves at this point, trying to keep this one alive. And Striker this time tries a pulse bomb, lobs it in, doesn't connect. In effect, picks him up. That's going to be it. And the Dallas Fuel now reignite themselves. Still in this map.
Too many ultimates there at the end on the table for the Dallas Fuel, for Boston Uprising to make any type of attempt to flip the point back. As we go over to Well now, this is an opportunity for Dream Casper to go back to the Pharah. And I think, you probably just keep Effect on this McCree.
Again, these rounds are so difficult for Kellex to navigate. You see time and time again that Mickey is looking for the Mercy, actively picking Kellex out of the mix and removing him. There's nothing worse than losing that Mercy in the fight, especially even like midway or towards the end of the fight. You know, when you're sort of down to a 4v4, one team picks the enemy Mercy out. That healing cannot be understated, especially in those more clutch scenarios. So now, Dallas go back here with that Orisa. Once again, they'll be heading over towards Well.
Oh, Dreamcasper takes effect out right at the beginning. It'll be Neko who takes out Coco, and Chips uses the Reza onto effect, so not going to be able to use that Orisa shield. It's going to be Dallas Fuel backing on up. Doesn't give effect a great, fighting chance against Dreamcasper at the beginning without that barrier. So the point should be going over to the Boston Uprising here. It'll be Mickey that gets on a contest, though. Some members for the Dallas Fuel coming back off of the spawn. Point still not over to Boston yet. Dreamcasper with a rocket barrage here early, but it's going to be a big kill by Mickey. Gets Note into the hole. He gets Striker as well. The Dallas Fuel off that spawn will be able to take this point. So Boston never even gets control of it after such a great start.
Okay, Mickey not able to take a breather through that one. Casper's actually found himself 2 kills. Very hard, of course, for the Junkrat to deal with the Pharah up in the air. Now, this is tough. If Boston want to take this point back, they need to get right into this back corner and deal with Coco. They have the damage though to overwhelm his shielding. Coco now just needs to step off the point. He's going to fall, and he's staggered out slightly. Good result for Boston now as they retake control.
They do give up, 16% to the Dallas Fuel. It's a great fight for Dallas Fuel to bring it back after, Dreamcasper gets off to a great start. He's already working on a second rocket barrage, already at 72%. The amount of damage he's able to put down, I just really love the angles he's taken to do it. Makes himself a very difficult target for Effect to track.
Yeah, this is out of necessity, naturally.
Yeah.
But Effect is the only legitimate threat on the Dallas Fuel side. Perhaps Mickey, if, Dreamcasper loses the presence of mind that he has and sort of drops too low towards the point. But the fact that he can get his damage around this shield is so good. So easy for them to circumvent that concave barrier that's provided. Now they can just pressure their way forward. The Orisa not as effective as they'd like it to be. Oh, Chips! Just what do the 5 fingers say to the face, Matt? Slap! Let's go.
Dreamcasper has been dominant as Pharah. 20 eliminations, 0 deaths on this hero on Ilios. Now you look on the side of the Dallas Fuel, you're going to have Whole Hog Supercharger. You use your Riptire in that previous fight, which actually got taken out by Note Self-Destruct. And for the Boston Uprising, you do have Transcendence, another Rocket Barrage. So can Dreamcasper get in a position where he can use this Pharah ultimate? And we don't see a ton of big plays with the Rocket Barrage, but most of it is because there's usually a Diva on the other side who flies right at you. No Diva here for the Dallas Fuel.
Being able to drop in behind that barrier and get a Rocket Barrage would be massive. Look at the damage that Casper's able to do right now. Again, boosting himself into position. He eats Mickey up pretty much instantly there. This time the Roadhog ends up being dinner instead of the other way around. Seagull needs to respect this. That's a nice one there. Note follows up on the damage done by Casper. Again, we're on board with him most of the time. He was hoping to have knocked Mickey into the pit, but there was no one here to contest the Pharah. The bird is the word, and Dreamcasper now is looking like he will be the man to bring his team across the line in the biggest ways. But Effect is there to cut him down. He falls from the sky. Striker's still up on the point though, and Effect was chunking. Look at how low he goes very quickly. Neko's done such a great job of following up on the damage of DPS's. Striker couldn't get away from that one. He had to accept it, and Coco was ready to cop that damage.
It'll be both Valkyries though coming out. Seagull, when he goes back to the spawn as he dies on Junkrat, will go over to 76. So get a little bit more damage onto Dreamcasper in the sky. It'll be Kelix who brings Neko back in the fight. Mickey, though, takes out Gamsu. Neko will fall as Dallas Fuel trying to get back on the point here.
Oh, Striker.
A little bit back in their favor. Striker will fall. Dreamcasper as well. Seagull track Helix out of the sky. So Dallas Fuel will take the point here. Boston Uprising just need one fight to go in their favor to take this map.
Yeah, this is really tense stuff for the Dallas Fuel. You can see now they realize Casper is wrecking us. We need to switch, but have a look at this. 40 underwater chests. Casper switching over towards the Genji now. You realize that they're probably going to try and counter his Pharah.
This is really going to test Seagull's Soldier 76, right? We see Seagull, primarily plays projectile. We see him play Zarya time and time again. Now running the Soldier 76. He's going to have Striker coming at him, Dreamcasper as well. We'll see how he handles it.
Casper now as well, constantly being harassed, taking damage to the 76. Seagull able to dish out so much damage from Miseri. Very safe position. But Gamsu and Neko going down early in this fight means it's going to be a quick plug pull for the Boston Uprising. It's done. They need to reset as quickly as they can. Custer did go for the sound barrier in that fight. The attack visor on the horizon here for Seagull, but If you play Soldier 76 in the current meta, you know that it's tricky to really get those demolishing tactical visors that you used to get.
Yeah, especially with Note playing D.Va with the defense matrix and even just the big bodies of D.Va and Winston getting into 76's phase. Striker will have a pulse bomb. We've seen the devastation he's caused with that ultimate throughout the series thus far. Neko will have Transcendence, so the fight will start here. It'll be Transcendence used here by Neko. Beat ships falling at the beginning. Kelix ends up in the hole here. It's going to be the attack visor that comes out from Seagull.
Time to break the damage in here. Note can't really use his defense matrix. He doesn't have it available, and that is a Discord orb on top of Gamsu, but Seagull can't risk it. He's too low. He's going to back away. Now, with him down, Dream Casper has a lot of room to work, and it's a 99-99 situation where the Boston Uprising have control, and there's no one from the Dallas field nearby. Surely Effect needs to get there. He dashes on, back on the Tracer. We haven't seen that in a little while, and the rest of Dallas are trying to keep this one going, but Custer is just cut to pieces. Casper was there to follow up on the tank's initiation, and the race is in. Effect is back on the table now. Chip's looking for more, and he finds Coco. The Reinhardt's even here. The pulse bomb's dropped on towards Mickey, though. He will get desuited, and Striker's found that kill, but it might take more. Kelix, double res. Now Neko and Gamsu are back in the fight. Casper's looking for a mini D.Va, and he finally gets it, but the Reinhardt hammer swats him aside, knocks him around, makes it hard, but it doesn't matter. Once again, the Boston Uprising show up in this round. And it puts the Dallas Fuel on the precipice now. A hard decision to make. A map 5 or a lost series is all that faces the Texans at this stage. Well, the Boston Uprising looking quite flexible once again.
Yeah, and just great adjustments by the Boston Uprising. As soon as they see that double hit scan come out with Seagull going over to 76, they make the adjustments, moving off of far. The Genji combination with Tracer. It's too much for Dallas Fuel there in the end.
Dream Casper and Striker giving so many issues here to the Dallas Fuel. There has to be a response, and it has to come now.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
to map number 4 in this wonderful series of the Dallas Fuel, who are going up against the Boston Uprising. And you know what? The guys from the Dallas Fuel looked strong on their first map on Umbani. We saw them sticking to their Junkrat McCree, Roadhog, Orisa comp, and it worked out just fine for them. So during halftime, I actually got to talk to their coach about this, because I kind of assumed that they would go for this heavy anti-dive because they're playing against the Boston Uprising, one of the strongest dive teams we have here in the league. However, they told me that, you know what, the team actually went rogue. Yeah, they weren't supposed to actually play this comp on their first 2 points on Numbani. So I would now assume that, you know, the coach Kaikai might get a bit mad about the team just going off record, not sticking to the game plan. But he said he couldn't be happier. We discussed it on the desk, and he said, you know, it's all about finding the comfort zone. It's all about the comfort picks. And this is what they did, and it worked out great for them. Let's see if they can tie the series back up in map number 4. Please make some noise. We're going to head back to our casters for all the action.
Thank you very much, Zoe, and it's good to hear a little bit from Kaikai there as well. You know, this is a team that's having to make changes, and sometimes you can throw caution to the wind. But one thing is for sure, Mercy's not being left alone, bro. She's going to get nerfed into ground. Nerf that.
No, not that bad. I think she'll still be fine. She'll still be fine. She can still fly. She can still heal everybody while she flies. I think she'll be still very useful. No subs coming into this final map. So we go in, well, potentially final map, as we do see the Dallas Fuel take Dorado. We will go to a Game 5, kind of fitting in with the theme of the week. You know, Game 5 seems like it could be likely on the table.
And the Boston Uprising, for them, this could be such an incredible breakout week. First, you know, you get the win over the Spitfire, and then back that up with a victory here over Dallas would set them on a trajectory. And for Dallas, and there's a sense of feeling that, although it's important then for them to take every game as it comes, high ranking in stage 1 is not the most important part. We know they're already making plans for the future, but they need to be putting themselves up against teams like the Boston Uprising, test themselves and find out what works. And it's kind of nice to hear that, you know, if they mix things up, they're given the free reign to do so.
Yeah, and I think Dallas Fuel, they're a team that has so much talent, built for the long haul, right? I mean, everybody that's played today, you have, you know, XQC, who's a tremendous tank. You have Taimu as well, AKM now coming into the team. Harry Hook, who we haven't seen this week. I believe he's sick, so...
Yeah, he's been unwell.
Yeah, so you have so many great players on this roster, and I think it's kind of like the thing with London, right? You have the great players. Eventually, you'll find out, you know, a core that works, and you can stick with it.
Finding a rhythm can be very difficult when you're having to go up against top opposition every week, because the question is always, are they just individually able to beat us, or is it a strategic problem? You know, a team like Dallas surely has to think that they've got the mechanics to go head-to-head with teams like Boston.
Well, I actually thought I saw a tweet of us from Linkser, who said that, you know, all the DPS players, speaking about DPS players in the league, you know, he finds that they're all kind of like on even footing, but that like it's just the game sense and just like no timings, and just a mental thing that's separating, you know, some of these players right now. And I think, you know, as time goes on, as the meta changes, I think you'll definitely see, you know, players get used to playing against each other, right? Like, we're going to see these matchups like quite often over the course of the year. Like, these players are going to have a very good idea how they like to play.
Behave yourself, Seagull. Casper's on the lookout, especially for Hanzo plays. Not the first time we might, you know, be seeing that Hanzo brought in on the attacking side here. Worked very well in the past. I think it was the San Francisco Shock that actually did it. But now affecting Coco there, laying the groundwork, the foundations for Dallas to make them move forward. And despite having Seagull shut down early on, Effect is looking very determined.
He wants to kill Dream Casper so bad to get this far out of the sky. And he's looking in this angle, but Dreamcaster up to his right, above the buildings, just making himself such a difficult target. Now it'll be Gamsu diving in here for the boss number. I think it's really low, gets blown up there by Seagull.
There was no follow-up there really at all. You see all of Dallas had split to make sure the Pharah couldn't really damage them, and Gamsu got discorded straight away. Maybe not the most coordinated of dives from a team that actually has a very, you know, well-streamlined approach to diving. Casper tries to go in there for a bit of cheekiness. The barrage, but it's shut down. Effect almost had a sixth sense about it. Neko, Kalex, both falling. Dallas Fuel, look at the damage they've been able to do, and healing. Getting very close to that first round of support ultimates, but the Boston Uprising aren't far away either. Casper making the switch now over towards the game. It's time for a change, he says.
how does the Dallas Fuel contest this high ground? You see a lot of teams contest the high ground, and it looks like Effect behind the Orisa shield here, up towards that top right-hand side. But on the left-hand side, that big platform you see on your screen, this is usually where we see the defense set up and play on that high ground. They deal quickly with it. The fact that he's up there alone. Seagull throws him high in hand. He will get Dreamcatcher just chucking mines out. The res will come in. The payload's still being moved here by Mickey, by the way. So Dallas Fuel still making a ton of progress with the payload.
It's interesting because you use the Orisa shield on that side, and it kind of gives the impression to Boston that Dallas are applying, or they're diverting a lot of resources to that part of the battlefield. And in response, Boston also try and divert some of theirs to try and deal with the shield, and maybe there's some McCree they want to get rid of. In the meantime, the rest of the Fuel are moving straight down. Boston split themselves, which in a dive comp, by the way, is very bad news. Good hook there. They might have no here for free, essentially. He has a self-destruct, so he'll be able to get back into the suit. But this is good progress here being made by the Dallas Fuel. Mickey, time for the whole hog. As soon as Note gets resuited, he's going to get desuited again. So frustrating. He just wants to play the game. And Action gets the hog back up into play. Transcendence over this fight for both Custer and for Neko. All the support ults getting used here. Again, it's going to be a slow, grind, drawn-out fight. Once again, Mickey goes down. Riptide might be the one to make the difference here, and Neko drops again.
They're going to bring Mickey back into the fight, though. So much HP that Roadhog has. Great target to use your presses on. They bring him up yet again. Gamsu will fall here. Dreamcatcher does have the Dragon Blade, but Seagull takes him out. Now it's just Striker here for the Boston Uprising, just trying to contest the payload. He has Neko working inside with him, just giving him the heals from range. Striker able to take out Chips, somehow still alive on the cart, buys his team enough time for to come off more reinforcements.
That was incredible stall from Striker. He was on his own there on that point, essentially. And for a good 10 seconds, he keeps himself alive. Granted, it's not always easy to hit a Tracer who's recalling and jumping. As a Junkrat, Seagull wasn't landing those mines. That's up to you to decide what that was a result of, but still, that's a huge, big individual effort there from Striker to keep that on alive. That should have been over.
The Effect just zoning out here with the Deadeye, just allowing players from the Dallas Fuel to gain a little bit more space.
You can also get told where the enemy is as well. Even behind walls, you sort of know where they are. That's a Dragon Blade Effect, has some problems coming from the rear end of things. He tried to get back, drop into the Transcendence the Custer was providing, but the safe haven was just a little bit too far out of his reach. He'll still be brought back to life, though. Effect now in a position to continue to flash and to get that damage done. But with Coco and Mickey down, Dallas are absconding here towards this more enclosed territory. Oh, Custer, no! He's gone over the edge. Trying to get back down under, but I'm pretty sure just get a Qantas flight straight out of LAX, bro. I know you missed Australia Day. I'm feeling it too. That's not how you respond.
Not ideal. Not ideal for Dallas thus far. So now you see it's going to be Valkyrie for Boston Uprising. They do have a self-destruct, no support ult for Dallas Fuel. Effect will play Tracer. So, outside of some stall scenarios at the end of Navani, this is the first time we're really seeing him play Tracer here. Still Seagull on Junkrat, does have a Rip Tire. Potentially use that when you see Kellix use that Valkyrie trying to get him out of the sky.
Casper now is in a position where he just wants to finish kills or get safe dashes. He knows that there's a Junkrat looming, there could be a trap anywhere. Like some grenades and now. Is that a primer ace inside the small room? That could be really nasty for the Dallas Fuel. Gonna get jumping around a little bit now, but Mickey with the whole hog trying to force Kellix away, but he's really unperturbed. He's quite high up in the air. Not a lot of that damage is really gonna make its mark on him. Gamsu's brought back though, so the big tank, the initiating factor here, the key to the play of the Boston Uprising is present back on the battlefield once more, and Striker has room to breathe. Now pushing through, has that recall, but now he's going to have to be very, very careful. Those grenades could claim him pretty comfortably, and he's low, he's down, he gets chased up by Effect, he's made the switch over to Tracer. Effect really desperately wanting to make the difference here, and the Dallas Fuel get themselves into that last stage. That is a big deal. The big deal because they get wiped right outside of this second stage. It's the hardest part of this map to overcome as an attacking team. And they just grind it out.
Well, now it's a new challenge for the Boston Uprising because you have Effect playing Tracer. He's just going to be harassing your backline. They've not dealt with it so far this series. It's really just been a poke competition that's come in for the Dallas Fuel. Not a ton of mobility to get back there, harass the supports. Now it's much different with Effect playing Tracer. One of the best Tracers in the world. So he gets hit with a Discord, has to back up. Get a bit. Dive is going to come in for Boston as they go deep. It's going to be Seagull, though he uses the Rip Tire. Takes Dreamcatcher out. Effect will connect with a Pulse Bomb on to Kellix. I believe that.
Okay, There might be a worry here for the Dallas Fuel. They've used a lot of game-winning ultimates in that last fight now, whereas Boston still have a couple to work with here. Pulse Bomb, Dragon Blade's going to be there.
We'll see how Boston reacts. Can they get back to the payload? It looks like Note will be the one that has to contest. But she will. Playing Diva, Gamsu will fly in as well.
Kellick's down early.
Drop Kellick's early. You can't die early there with the Mercy.
That's the stuff they're looking for, though. Mickey down to Dreamcast, but Seagull now comes out with a concussive mind. Note trying to leave a bit of a present on the front doorstep of the Dallas Fuel, and he finds Custer at that. But Dreamcast is down. Resurrects now for the Fuel, so they're getting their men back on the field. Seagull's close to a Riptide, but needs to respect the damage now. A bombardment of balls coming straight towards him, but now it is time for that Riptire. Needs to find a squishy target or a high priority one of that, and he's got Striker, the perfect pick-off now for the rest of Dallas Fuel to make their way forward. It's inexorable almost, or at least it feels that way. Got some tanks to deal with, and Custer now is the key to this problem. Need to discord now onto Gamsu and a pressure further on.
It's going to be Valkyrie for both sides. Gamsu uses the Primal Rage to stay alive on the payload. It'll be the Valkyrie used for the Dallas Fuel here. Kellick's had already popped his. Striker will take out Coco. You bring him right back into the fight. Get that Reinhardt back by the payload. Nope, will get demexed. Won't finish him just yet. Dreamcaster makes a change over to McCree. They'll get him res back up, trying to deal with Effect.
Striker, though, could still be a problem here. Effect needed to get away from the Reinhardt, trying to battle up in there, in the middle of it. But now the Transcendence here. Custer lets that one go. Effect's going to go deep now to try and stop reinforcements from coming in. They're trying to block Neko from getting out, but he gets there still. Body block not quite successful, but Effect now is found where the supports have been hiding. And the Riptide might just follow up on that discovery. No, it's Gamsu down. And now attempt for Kellick's to get him alive. Looking left, right, and center, trying to stay alive, but the Resurrect will not be forthcoming. Casper gets knocked away, tries to roll back. And the Fuel with nothing left in the tank, time-wise. Finish the map regardless.
For the Boston Uprising, I guess it's a little bit of a moral victory, forcing it into OT there. It did not look good at the beginning. Dallas Fuel was able to take point A with relative ease. Real difference maker once Effect switched over to Tracer. They never really had an answer for him in the backline.
It's the third time this series, on 3 different maps, the Dallas Fuel have a great start and get ground down and lose a lot of time later. We saw it on Numbani after a good attack. We saw it on the Temple of Anubis, and now here on Dorado. Makes a big difference, takes a lot of pressure off the Boston Uprising, who naturally have to attack set.
With Effect switching over to Tracer, it also forces a change out of the Boston Uprising to have Dreamcaster play McCree there at the end. So you lose his kind of game-winning potential with Dragon Blades and Genji, or potentially playing like a Pharah or a Junkrat or something there, because you need to deal with Effect as he's just kind of running through your backline. So you're forcing the Boston Uprising to do something we haven't really seen from them thus far this series.
And now, the Dallas Fuel know exactly what's on the line here. Not having a time bank really hurts them, to be honest with you. It puts them in a position now, if Boston finish the map, at best, all that they can go for is sort of a draw in this map, and that would still give the series over to the Boston Uprising. Right? So if both teams draw this map, it will still be a 2-1 to Boston Uprising. Hard to draw this, though, being a pure payload map, almost impossible. So it's less of a concern, but Dallas Fuel, again, their options are rather limited here. They're really just need to make sure the Boston just don't finish this map. That's just the way to go. They should be thinking about that now.
You see Dreamcast were here on Hanzo early. Though we did see Hanzo on Dorado. It was versus similar composition where they ran the McCree, and they're able to get those scatter arrows out. He's going to switch over to Pharah here, but the Hanzo wouldn't have been a bad pick, right? Because scatter arrow, you can one-shot Coco playing Orisa. You can really make Effect's Light very difficult to poke out around corners. Pretty, large target for a hero like Hanzo, but he will play Pharah. Stick with the Pharah, just trying to get the angles here. Just doing some damage towards the back. Just gonna force Dallas Fuel to back up a little bit.
Again, forcing them into close quarters kind of benefits Dreamcasper here. It's even long range. It's really quite the mark.
So you're so worried about where Dreamcasper is, right? He gets one player low, and then Striker just darts in and picks one up. You have no idea where he's attacking from. Kusu takes out Neko. Kusu also will get no demect here, but it'll be a kill from Dreamcaster on a Seagull. Striker will take out Kusu here, so the cart still kind of stuck underneath. Not a lot of progress made here by the Boston Uprising. It looks like at least here at the beginning, the Dallas Fuel may hold on.
Effect pressured down. One more rocket will claim him. Casper had a lot of room to breathe, and now with the McCree out of the picture, it's even more so. However, lacking a lot of teammates here, and you'll note Kellex is not with him right now.
They have both tanks weak for the Dallas Fuel. Mickey obviously, take a breather, get all healed up. Nope for a second, kind of came around the corner like he was going to dart in and go after Coco, try and finish him off. But he knows that Mickey playing the Roadhog is probably there with him, would have just hooked him, demeched him with ease. And see the shield just being put down by Coco time and time again on the payload. That was a Deadeye from Effect, gets nothing with it.
I think it's almost like Dallas tried to use a hold to pull someone into lethal range, but Dreamcasper now knows it's time to go in. Valkyrie preemptively used there by Chips there. Clever work. It's going to keep him mobile, keep him alive while the heals and resurrects come in. Seagull goes down. Brought back fairly soon, I'm sure, but Striker now returns to the fray for the Boston Uprising. Casper, as he rises up, of course, he catches Coco now with a direct rocket. It's going to be a resurrect on the Orisa, but Dreamcasper's already moved on to bigger and better things. But no, Casper shuts him down. Note's backing up. Kellex also pretty darn low. He's down, and Effect is now starting to take it all over. The Dallas Fuel bring the Uprising to a screeching halt for the minute 45 before they get to the next checkpoint.
So Effect with another Deadeye. Seagull will have a Rip Tire, and they'll have Transcendence. Dallas Fuel on defense. Dreamcasper will go off of Pharah. Will play Genji here. So Boston going to go back to their trusted dive composition. Neko will take out Seagull. He's gonna get res right back up, but now Effect falls, so you don't have that resurrection to use on Effect. That's gonna force out Transcendence from the Dallas Fuel, and it's also gonna have them use their supercharger here to try and stay in this fight.
Gumps is in a great position here to do damage, but Seagull had even more damage available from the Primal Rage. Winston, he lands now, the concussive mine, and Seagull follows it up. Big 3 kills for Seagull now. Once again, throwing a spanner in the works for the Boston Uprising. Kellex is down. I feel like I've said that a lot of times this map. Now Custer decides to feed some of his own damage across the line. And the Boston Uprising, once again, a sniper.
Oh, that's a tough one for the Uprising to lose. They get that early pick on the Seagull, it gets rest up. Then you get the pick onto Effect, who's done such a tremendous job on this map as McCree and Tracer just putting down just an insane amount of damage. I mean, right now, 32 kills, 20 final blows, only 7 deaths to his names. You drop him at the beginning of the fight, you feel like you have the advantage. I mean, Chips using Valkyrie, he uses Deadeye here as well, and it's going to be Effect getting stuck by Striker. He gets res right back up.
And fine, Kellex now is going to have to use his Valkyrie to even the scales, but Gapsy's down. Oh, the moth just swoops on in, and Effect's not able to deal with it. Someone call pest control. Now Effect will find Neko, getting pressured out by Striker as per usual, but he's being healed constantly by Chips. Got a lot of support from his backline now, and Effect is really being enabled to do damage. Striker's head goes rolling. Who's next is the question. He wants another, and Effect finds Kellex to finish things off. The Dallas Fuel have kept themselves alive in this series. We're gonna go to back 5. It's what they, it's what you deserve.
Effect just absolutely dominated Dorado. He was tired of Dreamcasper up in the sky as Pharah is handling him with the McCree. Then they switch over the dive Boston, and they're not able to do anything. He just goes off on this map. Sends it to a game 5.
A timely recovery from the Dallas Fuel is to be sure. Seagull looking fantastic on that junk mode all throughout the series. I know he's playing a lot of it right now, but it shows. But control's always been the issue for Dallas so far, and that's where we're going to be heading next. All comes down to one more map.
I'm gonna die to it. Turret point out, Technique! I'm low, I'm dead. What's it dead? Chase this one. Chase the one, I'm done. Dead. Monkey, one point! Monkey. McCree, this one. Nice! Good job.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
Well, no punches have been pulled in this epic stoush between the Dallas Fuel and the Boston Uprising, and once again we have ourselves a 5-map affair. We've had plenty of those this week, Matt, and this one, no different. Definitely giving us some excitement like the others.
I think you're starting to see, as these teams have lived here in Los Angeles for a while now, they're all scrimming each other, they're just making each other better, just kind of pushing each other further. Coaches getting more tape on different teams to be able to make some different comps to adjust, and I think that's why you're seeing so many close games now.
It's funny, we talked about this so much at the inception of the Overwatch League. Now there's an ecosystem that is kind of consistent across all of these teams, with some slight differences based on where they're living or how they're living or whatever, but maybe even a more even playing field. And we're definitely seeing a lot more parity this week. We're seeing a lot more evenness between these two teams. And now we're seeing Dallas Fuel, who only just got their first win last night, going up against the Boston Uprising, who managed to beat, we're not using the transitive properly here, mind you, but the team who managed to beat the London Spitfire. So everyone really feeling like there's a very strong block of players, a peloton of individuals in the middle of the rankings who are just going back and forth. That makes for some fun Overwatch.
And Dallas Fuel, they'll keep the same exact lineup in here for Game 5. Boston Uprising will make one change. You'll have Kalios, who will come in for Note in the off-tank position, so Kalios can play the Zarya at a high level. I remember the one time we casted a Game 5, we hyped him up. So Zarya player didn't really have the best of showing, but he comes in again here on Lijiang Tower. He can play both the D.Va and Zarya, but you do see a little bit more Zarya play on this map.
Absolutely, especially if we're going to head over towards, Command Center, where, Zarya is fantastic when there's chokes involved and you can absorb so much of that Junkrat damage, who, of course, has been a big problem in general, for Boston to deal with. So, if you can turn some of that Junkrat damage into a boon for your team, you're definitely on the right track. I wouldn't be surprised to see that brought in, here again by Seagull. We're actually going to be heading over towards Garden for our first map, for those that are wondering. So we're doing a bit of a fly-through here, but Garden is the stage. And obviously, we've, obviously with that substitution now on the side of the Boston Uprising, we might see a different look from them.
We'll have to see what I know how Dallas Fuel decides to run as well, because there's a lot of times where we say, this point's at a Junkrat point. No, it's not great for Junkrat. I think Dallas Fuel is proving that Junkrat is great in every situation now, especially when you put the combination with the Junkrat plus Orisa and Roadhog in the mix. I think you can make Junkrat work just about everywhere.
It wasn't too long ago where he was, entirely non-viable, even took damage from his own grenades. But the tables have turned, and now Dallas have been able to, create a composition that gives a lot of protection and enables things like Junkrat and McCree to have a big impact. That's probably the most important part about that composition. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's slightly broken, you have no other options, still don't fix it.
Custo will play Lucio here for Dallas Fuel. Boston Uprising will elect to go with, I was going to say Neko playing Zen, but he gets dropped instantly here at the beginning of the fight, so you lose the ability for the Discords to get onto Mickey, really chunk through Roadhog's HP. They connect with a halt and a hook onto Kalios that forces him back. As Dallas, they have control of the point right now.
Nothing crazy that claimed the life of Neko, by the way. Purely just all the poke and spam damage coming out from the Dallas Fuel. I mean, that's what they have. It's a spam conversation.
Oh.
Okay, Mickey's going to go overboard there. I don't think they make life jackets for Roadhog, unfortunately. But oversized, however, it's responded to. Striker's already been taken down. Custer's moving his team back on towards the point. They want to fight in these close quarters. They want to try and bait the Uprising to come and join them there. Custer tries for something cute, tries for a knockoff, but cut down by Drink Casper. But now affectionately going for the Deadeye, has shield protection. Oh! Finds Casper on the way down, and the Pharaoh is no more. And yet, the Uprising is still throwing themselves in effect. He says, bring me another! Bring him another! Unfortunately, there's nothing left on the Uprising for now.
Just keep running at effect. They challenge him time and time again, and the guy delivers for the Dallas Fuel. Dream Casper will play Genji now, so they think they just even want to get more aggressive on this Dallas Fuel comp. When they were doing well on Anubis, they were changing up the angles of attack. They were waiting for Striker to get in position. Seems like that has kind of fallen apart here. Now it looks like Striker working all the way around. They're going to use Valkyrie here. Will the Boston Uprising as they dive in deep.
Comes in now, being pressured there, away from the main engagement here, and Effect once again has room. See, both tanks have left to his own devices. This could be scary. It needs to be a shield defense matrix or something. It wasn't there, but Kalios was the only one to really suffer from it. He goes in for the self-destruct, but Dallas were able to abscond away from that explosive damage, and Striker heads will roll, and it seems to be his time after time after time. Neko not far behind either. Effect may have more to do yet, if that's even possible, and eventually he gets knocked off. Not allowed to play Overwatch today, apparently.
Yeah, Boston's going to use their Transcendence here as soon as they get effect out of the fight, and the effects of Valkyrie wear off. Trying to take the point back. Striker will finish off Seagull, so Boston will be able to flip the point here, but a lot of damage done. Dallas Fuel gets up to 90%.
And now the Boston Uprising, despite having control of the point, they realized they were going to have to get aggressive and pick apart Dallas Fuel before they can set up behind, the Orisa barrier, before Mickey can actually get the hook and chain combo sort of set up. Effect has a Deadeye, so they're going to need to get in his space anyway. So now this aggressive defense of the Boston Uprising has to be even more so than we've seen thus far in this match. And Dream Casper has plans. He's got grand designs. He wants to try and get back in Dragon Blade. From above, perhaps.
Oh, Dallas had to know he had the blade, and he comes right on down. Seagull uses the Riptire. So you trade 1-for-1 there. It'll be Chips who brings effect back into the fight, so you just have Mickey down here for the fuel.
Casper has respawned. He wasn't resurrected here. Kellex actually didn't have the timing quite right. Casper's going to go down on the pulse bomb. Will he be brought back? Yes. Kellex also getting Gamsu back upon his feet. This is an important fight. Boston can't get this point up at all. And Striker now looking for his next target. He sees effect and they comboed with Gamsu in there. Striker just spraying with the pulse pistols, and he and Dream Casper have found themselves 4 and 5 kills. And the Dallas Fuel now are down. And even worse than that, they lack support ultimates available. They do not have the Valkyrie.
You're going to get Sound Barrier here, as Cuss is 90% and counting, as Neko does have Transcendence for the Boston Uprising. Boston also with a Primal Rage, so a lot of stall potential coming out from Gamsu. I think it's really just on Striker and Dreamcast to just beat. They don't even have to dive in deep on the back line of the Dallas Fuel. They just have to be nuisances, right? And just detract effect from just walking on forward, just peeling faces. He has switched over to Tracer here, in fact. Try and get something happening. That sound barrier only connects with Chip Seagull as well, so they only connect with 2 members there of the team with that sound barrier.
Kellex is down though, and unfortunately for the Dallas Fuel, the pulse bomb from Striker didn't get much. He dropped onto a fortified Orisa, but the self-destruct seemed to have got them a little bit more traction in this fight. Chips and Seagull both being down now, the 2 tanks of the Boston Uprising under dispatch, but Striker's not done yet. He's found Custer, now trying to dance around the point. Bit of a disco dance on the cross. Mickey now getting a bit of a take-a-breather, getting back into the action. The pulse bomb takes both DPS players down from effect. That might be the answer they've been looking for. And nothing gets any better than that, man. But Mickey's got 8 HP. Neko comes in. Player after player stepping up with huge performances, and now the Boston Uprising have control. It's 99%. Stall will be a factor here as Custer tries to sneak onto the point and get back behind that barrier, but Kellex gives Chips the boot. Now Custer trying to escape. Pressure on towards Neko here, and you can see that Tracer of Effect is really trying to shut down Neko, but he's able to dodge in. Mickey now comes back in on the Diva.
Kills going in favor here to the Uprising, as they will take our first point on Lijiang Tower. And Neko is able to pick up some clutch kills there at the end. He's there with Kellex, and I believe it was Kalios who's coming off of spawn when Mickey takes the point back for the Dallas Fuel. He's able to take Mickey down, and they just kind of work their way back in. Seagull uses a Riptire. Don't get anything with it. So now it's going to be the Boston Uprising, just 1 point away from taking out the Dallas Fuel here in our Game 5. So, no, at least at the start, looks like potentially we will see Dallas change some things up. Okay, it looks like, all right, no, never mind. They're going to go back. For a second there, it was Effect playing Tracer, and Seagull was playing the 76. Thought they were maybe going to change things up a little bit. It looks like you're going to go with that same composition from the Dallas Fuel. Yet again, it's going to be the dive that comes out from Boston.
Tracer 76 is safe, but maybe lacks that lethality the Dallas Fuel are seeking with a Junkrat and McCree composition. Again, they kind of build like a cactus, Matt. Get too close, you're going to get stung. Now the hook in for Kalios. Going to try and follow this one up there on that Diva. Looking for Chips. The micro rockets have got him so low. Dream Casper find him. No, Custer heals and keeps Chips alive. That's massive. Good work from Dallas Fuel here to receive the dive and actually be able to withstand it. Custer goes down. The rest of the Fuel are recovering well. It's just Striker now who needs to get out.
Yep, he's going to jump off the side, reset with the rest of his team.
It's all the same, really. He either drops off or runs back to his team. It's probably quicker this way.
All right, so remember earlier in the series where I said I would like to see them try that quad tank against this setup. They're not exactly going to go for a quad tank. It's going to be triple tank, Moira, Lucio here. You're going to have Striker play McCree. See how this works out. You're going to try and get a ton of healing from the Moira with all this Junkrat spam.
Oh, see if this works out. Striker on the McCree now. It's his time. to start spin on the gun, but Effect has that shield in front of him from that Orisa. Again, just going to peek in and out from it. Jiggle peeking and McCree very effective now, keeping themselves safe for the most part, and Dallas have used both their reses to get into this fight.
Yeah, Boston has taken the point, so they're going to start to build up some percentage here. Asta will use his Transcendence. It'll be a double Riptire kill that comes in from the Dallas Fuel, but Dallas Fuel will take the point back. It's forced to use both support ults plus a Riptire.
Perhaps worthwhile at this stage, though. It's the second time they've been in control of the point. Allows them at least to get to halfway complete. That's interesting to me. They sort of run like the Reinhardt. I understand Reinhardt for protection for Striker, but I mean, you can get a lot of value out of a Zarya in this particular composition.
And I was going to say, you bring Kalios into the game because he can play Zarya. Right. So you figure that's the one thing that could be a little confusing. Oh, and he actually hooks it back. He gets blasted up into the sky. Kalios will connect with 2. The self-destruct, the Striker with a Deadeye as Dreamcatcher heads towards the point. Try and swing this one back in favor of the Boston Uprising. Neko did use his Coalescence during that fight, but with these big tanks, he's going to build up to it rather quickly. It's already 50% and counting on the way. Effect will switch over to Reaper here. So now you're just going to try and get into these big tanks, chunk them down.
Very colorful game of chess, Matt. Back and forth. So Effect coming in. Reaper still is quite susceptible to pressure from McCree. So Striker can still make it hard for Effect to get in close. But again, once they're fighting on the point, that Reaper really comes into his own.
And it's not like you're Reinhardt where you can move with that barrier and just kind of escort Reaper all the way into the point. Like with Orisa, you're going to have to kind of keep chucking in front, working its way down. And Boston doesn't have a comp where they kind of have to run.
That's trouble! Chips is going to be caught, and there's going to be a bit of fish on the side for Casper. The Earthshatter to follow that one up now as well. Boston digging deep for those ultimates, but hey, it pays off.
It's another fight won here for the Boston Uprising. They did use their sound barrier in Earthshatter during that fight. You hold on to some good ultimates, though. You still have that Coalescence. And Neko is built up to yet again Kalios with a self-destruct. The Dallas Fuel Seagull will have a Riptire. You have Transcendence here, so I am interested how they play around this match. Trying to get to the point with this Reaper, with the Orisa shield, it's just going to take a slow process to get all the way there.
Trying to get everyone in safe is the main concern because there's a lot of poke available now from the Uprising. Dreamcatcher in the open field, attempts Cook, backs away to take a breather. Now another Kalios double self-destruct kill. Exactly what the Uprising were looking for. That may have sealed the fate here for the Fuel. Oh, Chipsy's going to have to get a double res, and it's going to have to be fast. And then goes down, but Affected already fallen. Headshot for Striker. No, in fact, hard to say with the Omnic Monk getting pounded in with the Boston Uprising and working up here. They've set up on the point. The Dallas Fuel lost too many players, trying maybe to reinvent the wheel somewhat. And now it's just going to be Coco, all left on his lonesome here. He will fall. And in very poignant fashion, that will be the Boston Uprising to take this series away. 3-2, the scoreboard. And another one in the back pocket for the Uprising. What a week it's been for them.
They complete a tremendous week for Boston. Last week after their, bad defeat towards the end, you saw a lot of them on Twitter like, we're not okay with this. We're going to work much harder coming into next week. And they show up this week with 2 big wins, one against London, another here against the Dallas Fuel. I think something we've gotten on the Boston Uprising team about is their mid-game adjustments. This time they made some really good ones.
Kalios into the roster. We thought we'd see the Zarya from him for that last map, but instead he brought up the Diva and showed us some Poco-esque self-destruct performances. Just the ticket to get them over the line here in a very close match to kick off our Saturday. Let's head now over to the desk with Puckett in the gang and break down some of the minutiae of that stoush.
Minutia. I can't even say it like Uber. Amazing stuff, though, as we see the Boston Uprising walking away with another Game 5. That's 2-in-1 week. A ridiculous finish once again. But let's take it back. We got bread and we got crumbs, and we're going back to Ilios here as we roll the highlights. Let's talk about some of the impact players. For me, it was Mickey on the Roadhog living up, but Striker started to pop off with this Tracer.
And Striker was having a sick game on his Tracer. I mean, he was already at the halftime a candidate for player of the game. But what I think struck me very oddly in this map was that we have a quick Widowmaker duel and immediately a swap right back into the Genji Tracer, and it's just a devolution really of the map.
Yeah, so the most notable thing for me was Dreamcatcher's performance in general. How he was staying alive in his team fights, being supported quite a lot by his team, but he actually had 40% of his team's total damage done in this map on Ilios. That's crazy. I mean, to compare that to what you normally get on a DPS, 30% is considered very high, right? 30% is considered really good. 40% is almost unheard of. You only see it with select players like Fletter, these hard carry potential DPS players.
Well, I think a big part of it came down to him picking the Pharah in that first point. You are able to just throw out rockets into the holes where Dallas Fuel were trying to play, and he's just bouncing back and forth between openings, just killing everybody. And the composition that the Fuel ran, it just fell flat right there, 99-0, but in every other point, you have more room to work with for dealing with Pharah.
Despite the loss, I do want to credit Effect here. You're going up against a composition that can't give you any help. Your Orissa's not going to do any damage to that Pharah. You don't have a Diva in the lineup to really do work for you, so that was Effect single-handedly forcing the Genji swap. Unfortunately, it was Boston, not Dallas, taking game number 3, and that put Dallas basically out of the running in my thoughts. I came into Dorado expecting Boston to steamroll, but Dallas held in there, guys. Let's take a look at some of the best moments from this game, and I want to get your thoughts starting with Bren. Who was impressing you on these first 2 pushes? Because Dallas is making some quick time.
Absolutely, yeah. So this composition, it seems to be working wonders for Dallas, really playing in these comfort roles. But Mickey, the guy who we've seen just there, is one of the players who I really want to point out as one of the highlights here, because his Roadhog in the past, I mentioned it in the pre-show, hasn't been great. It hasn't been great at all. But I know for a fact that Taimu has been personally coaching Mickey on Roadhog, on the ins and outs of the hero, and he has been putting up an admirable performance so far. So I got to say, Mickey, for me, has really enabled this team. And Boston, they weren't really playing around it too well. They were trying to run Pharah Mercy. That's what they came out with, out of the gate on the defense. Again, it didn't work out for them because they seemed to get rolled and had trouble trying to pick up Effect in general. A lot of emphasis trying to bring down Effect, but he's just so good at staying alive.
It wasn't a very coordinated event. You didn't have the pharmacy trying to deal with the McCree. It was mostly just Dreamcasper versus Effect, and it was Effect that was getting pocketed the whole time. So if you're the Pharah, that is trouble for you because you're having to go through the health packs to try to keep in that battle. But he pulled through. But I think what impressed me in a negative way was the defense from Boston in that first push on Dorado. They just let the push just go on through, go with the current, and they barely even try to contest.
All right, Boston struggles on Dorado, but they made up for it with this second control point. And here in stage 1, we know it's the most important of the 4 game modes you're going to play because it's the tiebreaker game 5. A big switch, though, as we take a look at the highlights. Kalios subbing in for Note. Why would they want to make this move?
Right, so this is important to point out because Note has been playing the entire match. He played in the entirety against London as well. So you may be wondering why bring in Kalios, but Kalios seems more accustomed to playing the sort of tank-based compositions and making the switches that they needed to combat Dallas Fuel. It seemed like No was a little bit uncomfortable playing against the composition that Dallas Fuel were running.
And Kalios looked a lot better when dealing with the Hall combination. The Hall is really the bread and butter of the Hall hook combo. So if your Diva is on point and can just absorb it every time with Defense Matrix, then half of that combination goes out the window. And I think that's what really allowed Boston to start taking fights at a pace that is more suited to their style.
All right, fellas, all the games are done. Boston walks away with the victory. The 5th loss now for the Dallas Fuel, but we have to crown our player of the match. Bren, who are we going with? Who's our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP?
This guy performing day in, day out, Dreamcasper. I mean, I briefly mentioned some statistics coming out from him. He puts out ridiculous damage numbers. He's got the clutch potential, and he works so well with Striker as well as a unit, this dynamic duo of DPS players. And really, one of the shining lights of this team. I know for a fact as well that he is actually sort of the team leader, the team captain of the Boston squad. So he's the one who's making a lot of the shot calls in this game. That's incredibly impressive to me because he's actually very new kind of to the Overwatch League in general, to Overwatch as a scene. He was brought in, newly introduced to it. You wouldn't expect him to be thrusted into that role, but he's performing very well.
So fun to watch him throughout this series on Pharah, but especially the Genji. And our stats wizard, Captain Planet, said look at the deflect damage, higher than a Dragon Blade damage, something we don't see too often. Dreamcasper is our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Crumb's final thoughts here. I know we highlighted the DPS, Striker amazing, Dreamcasper amazing. How good were the tanks for Boston today?
I think the tanks for Boston were awesome in a couple of the games when it came down to synergistically working with their DPS, but when it came down to understanding how to deal with the Halt hook combination, they really dropped the ball for a couple of the maps. So a lot of work to improve, but in their strengths, it showed.
All right, Boston came into the league as an underdog, a team with a lot to prove. They wanted young, scrappy players who are willing to learn from the coaching staff. Well, the coaches, they got another big win. They're currently sitting at 3-3, right in the middle of the pack. When we return, though, we got another match for you. It is the 3-2 Valiant taking on the Florida Mayhem. We'll see, can the hometown squad get a big win in front of this awesome crowd? We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.